Charter Township Board. It is Monday, August 10th at 6:30 PM, and we'll call the meeting to order. If you will join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, and we'll start with the roll call attendance.
Bartlett.
Yes.
Cook.
Here.
M. Cortade. Lyle.
Here.
S. Cortade.
Here.
And Friend.
Here.
And it's noted that Walters is absent or excused.
Correct. All right, with that, we'll take a look at the agenda and do a review for conflict of interest. First, I just want to note there's several things on your desk and a couple items that we want to add, so let's go over those real quick. A couple things that I'll be asking you to add would be East Bay Ambulance part-time employee, also a grant approval that was awarded to East Bay Ambulance for education. Under the engineer's report, we do have it listed for lift station force main project, but I do want to just draw out that for your information, that'll be 2 contract changes, one for contract 1, one for contract 2. And also, we'll talk about the city of Traverse City just briefly and their emergency tie-in. Let's see, and then we have an election purchase that we'll also add to the agenda. What you have in front of you is you will have a larger printout, as you can see, related to the Brownfields project for 4 Mile and Hammond. And you have the clerk and election news, you have the ADA grant that I mentioned from the Association of Clerks, that information. You've got some information on the change orders. You do have under a separate cover that ZBA appointment. You have the hiring of the part-time person from the ambulance as well, and I apologize, the resolution for the DNR trust fund grants was not in the packet. The grant agreements were in there, but the resolution which we will pass, which will agree to those grant agreements, was inadvertently left out, so we have that. And you have some information on that grant award from the ambulance. So with that, I would ask if there is anyone who has a conflict of interest with anything listed on the agenda or anything that they heard. Okay, hearing none, we'll look for approval of the agenda, adding the East Bay Ambulance part-time employee offer, a grant approval for education, and the election purchase. I think that we can cover the engineering when they're lift station 1 easily under what's listed there, lift station 1 project change orders.
So how would you like the others added on the agenda?
So we will put the, and as H, the ambulance employee, part-time employee, and the grant approval, and I for the election purchase and grant approval. And we will then add the City of Traverse City emergency connection under item 8A.
Okay.
Okay, any questions on that? Or is there a motion to approve that agenda as amended?
Make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Okay, is there support? Okay, there is a motion by Bartlett and support by Cook. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, that agenda stands, and now we'll go to public comment. Now is the opportunity for the public to stand at the podium and give us your perspective on items. And do you have a kind of a brief, well, if you don't have it there that's printed, that's okay. I think we might have lost the printout that was there. But basically, anybody can come to the podium, state their name, their address for the record, and then you'll have 3 minutes to let us know your perspective. And we'll kind of give you an idea with the timer there. And if you don't have the timer set up, then maybe Sue can just clock it or something. So with that, we'll begin with public comment. Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm fine, thank you. My name is Jan Stone. I live at 1797 St. Joseph Street. I've been paying taxes in East Bay Township for 21 years. There's only one little tiny bit of beach left for the public to go to, and that's Jen's Park. The rest is all taken up by hotels or condos. So our beautiful bay has pretty much been ruined, but that aside, I have pictures of people going to Alexandra and going upstairs and going to Blush and parking in Jen's Park. So 3 times now, my husband and I have not been able to go to the beach because there's no room. There are people who are going to the beach, that's great. There are also people, and I've seen it, I've witnessed it, people going to the top, walking around the fence and going to the top and going wherever they go. But I've seen bachelorette parties, I've seen people dressed very nicely. And my question to you all is, did you know that when you allowed Werfel to build Alexandra, did you know that there would not be enough spaces?
Thank you. So part of the rules, we do not respond to those, but
Okay.
we're welcome to, if you want to leave your name and contact information with the recording secretary, Ann, we can follow up with you.
Okay. So for me to ask if there's anything going to be done about it, that's not going to happen here at this forum?
No, we just listen.
All right.
We listen to perspective.
All right. So I do have pictures. I've got one picture, actually 3 pictures, of a full parking lot and 3 people on the beach. So I'm very disgusted and I'm really discouraged. So I would love for someone to get back to me. I have emailed a number of you in the past with no response. So on this topic, if someone could get back to me, I'd really appreciate it.
Sounds good. If
Thank you.
could, jot down your phone number or your email, that would be terrific. Additional public comment? Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good. Your name and,
My name is Susan Hull, and I live at 2156 Landview Drive in the Waterview Ridge condos.
okay, thank you.
2 things. The first thing is, we are here because we're supposed to be talking about the new development going in of 30 houses, and I don't know who to contact to make sure that we get copies of the paperwork so we can stay abreast of what's going to happen. Last time, we were kind of blindsided with them, with our easement and the use of our road and all that other stuff, so I just didn't know. And I didn't know if there's any paperwork out there that we can get already, because, of course, we're concerned that we want to make sure that we're ready this time. The second thing, I'm kind of brushing them together, Consumers Power has contacted us to purchase our easement. It is going to be 80 feet, and it actually encompasses our pump house and our entranceway on 4 Mile. And so we are working with the lawyer with that to see, what's going on with that. But is that easement going to go all the way up to 4 Mile and then again up to Hammond for consumers? Have you guys heard anything about that at all?
So 2 things. You
Okay.
heard what I just mentioned before,
Yeah.
but very quickly,
Okay.
2 things. One is if you scan this QR code.
Okay.
You will get the packet the very same time that all
Oh,
board
great.
members
Okay.
get the packet.
Thank you.
This has every bit of information in it that these board members have when they make
Okay,
their decisions.
great.
So you will always have that. And then secondly, as far as the consumer's
Mm-hmm.
easement, that is a private civil agreement between you and consumers.
Okay.
So we would not be the appropriate party to answer those
Okay.
questions.
All right, just curious. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Any additional public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll move forward with our agenda. Let's see, we have correspondence and reports in the packet. And in the packet, you'll notice that you have the Park Plan News for this summer, July, Grand Traverse County Road Commission reports, as well as the lift station sewer main weekly update meetings. On the minutes, the treasurer's report, the supervisor's meeting log, and as I mentioned on your desk was the clerk's report. One thing that I will have you notice is in the sewer force main project, and every week you'll find there is a section that says if there is any changes that need to mitigate the end date. And so far, through all of them, there are none. So we're on schedule, or absolutely as close to on schedule that it hasn't risen to the level of making it to the weekly meeting. So we're pretty happy about that. Okay, we will move on to the consent agenda. And Ann, do you want to go over the consent agenda?
And the purpose of the consent agenda is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with by one board motion without discussion. Any member of the board, staff, or the public may ask that any item on the consent agenda be removed and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such requests will be automatically respected. If any item is not removed from the consent agenda, the action noted in parentheses on the agenda is approved by a single board action adopting the consent calendar. This evening, you have minutes from July 13th, 2026. Recommend approval. From the general fund, check numbers 20552 through 20600 were paid in the amount of $110,354.59. Check number 20564 was voided, and 20072 was previously approved. The emergency fund, check number 6300 through 6317 in the amount of $29,385.72. The receiving fund, check number 3038 through 3041, paid in the amount of $3,948,059.07. The escrow fund, check number 2159, was paid in the amount of $1,180. Roads SAD fund, check number 124, was issued in the amount of $500. And there were two payrolls, one for June 28th through July 11th, check numbers 8037 through 8039, and totaled $82,924.14. And the payroll dated July 12th through July 25th, check numbers 8040 through 8044, total $84,214.75. Total payroll, $167,138.89, and total amount paid, $4,256,618.27. And you had no other budget adjustments or any other items on the consent calendar this evening.
All right, great, thank you. Does anybody on the board need anything removed from the consent agenda? Okay, is there anybody from the public who would like anything removed from the consent agenda? Okay, we'll bring that back to the board for a motion. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Is there support? Okay, there's a motion by Cook and support by Bartlett to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any further discussion? Okay, we'll do a roll call vote.
Cook.
Yes.
Bartlett.
Yes.
S. Cortade.
Yes.
Lyle.
No.
M. Cortade.
Yes.
And Friend.
Yes. All right, thank you very much. We will move on to the business before the Township Board. We have engineering, Garth Bogart here with Wade Trim. He has been our project manager for the lift station #1 project, the sewer force main that we are completing along Parsons and into the wastewater treatment plant. Garth, I do have some attached emails and information in here about 2 change orders, and if you can follow, one was to contract 2, and that was the one that we put through as an emergency change order in order to get everything ordered so that they didn't have a delay. And then there is change order 3 to contract 1 that came in last week that we'll be going over. And then if we could go over the city of Traverse City emergency connection briefly. I did, though, want to mention to you, we have the formal change order paperwork, change order number for the contract 1, number 3. I don't have it in the packet for contract 2, and I'm trying to recall now if that's change order 1 on contract 2, is it not?
Correct, yep.
Okay. So we'll just kind of verbally go over that one, and we'll approve it and the amounts that it'll be and what it's for, but the change order actual form will come to us subsequent to that. So, go ahead.
Good evening, thanks for having me. Just to give everybody a quick update over what's happened in the last month. Both contracts on the Force Main project have been going as smooth as we could hope for. As Beth noted, we have weekly meetings to go over progress and what's to come over the next 2 weeks. Each week, the contractors seem to be hitting their targets, and it's been a good month, as good as we could have asked for. So As far as contract one goes, the majority of the directional drilling is wrapping up. The only remaining section of pipe that has to go in still is the section that goes from Woodmere along Hannah to Barlow. It's probably the most complex portion of the directional drill for contract one, but they're prepping for it right now, and they expect to be finishing that section up within the next couple of weeks. At that point, the directional drilling will be wrapped up, and M&M, the prime contractor on that job, will be going through and making connections between the drills and putting in other features such as cleanouts, valves, air release valves, etc. Over on the contract two side, pretty similar update. The directional drilling on that side of the project is wrapped up. The contractor, if you were to drive down Parsons, you would see is inching their way down Parsons several hundred feet at a time each day with the open cut installation of the pipe. They're working their way east to west, and they're also hitting their marks. The big item of work that they're currently working on, which one of these change orders relates to, is the tie-in at the lift station. That's ongoing, and things are progressing well, but conservatively slow so that no errors are made, because that's a sensitive area. To dive into the change orders, for contract one, you've got a change order in front of you for additional work that was required to get from Hall Park into the wastewater treatment plant. That's been a very technical area in terms of conflicting utilities and in terms of working alongside the city to make sure that their ongoing wastewater treatment plant is not negatively impacted by our project.
And they're doing a $40 million project right now.
Yeah, they've got a very large one going on. Yep. Change order one came about because the existing underground utilities were at different elevations than we anticipated. So it required a lowering of the new force main through the gate and into the plant. This was discovered as the contractor was making their first attempt to get through the gate. They uncovered everything. They took good data points on everything that they uncovered. And at that point, it was realized during the weekend work that it was best to stop, regroup, and come up with a new plan to install the main lower, because at the proposed location, it wasn't going to work. So that required the contractor to backfill, demobilize, and then come back at a later date that had been coordinated with the city to dig deeper, which also required additional dewatering efforts to get through there. So the contract, the change order amount that you see in change order number 3 for contract 1 is the amount extra that was required in order to complete that revised work. So that's,
We're still within the scope of work and the contingency funds, so we are good with all of that. And when we stay within the scope of work and the contingency funds, we do not need to go back to Acme Township because they've already agreed to all of those parameters.
so I can answer any questions on that change order if any of you have any.
Any questions on contract number 1, change order number 3?
Can you tell me the dollar amount of that change order?
$44,288.34.
Just curious, so the 30-inch storm sewer
Yep.
was in the right location, but at the wrong elevation?
That was a largely unknown utility until it was dug up and we were able to get hard eyes-on locations of it. There were assumptions going into it, but until you dig it up, which we were unable to prior to the project, it was our best guess where it was. And that information came about late in the game relative to the project. we didn't even know about that existing storm until after bidding. So it was a bit of a reactionary measure on our end.
That's a Traverse City owned.
Yes, yep, that's a storm sewer line.
If there are no other questions, is there a motion on contract number 1, change order number 3?
I'll make that motion.
Is there support?
Support.
Okay, there's a motion by Escortate and support by Cook to approve the lift station number 1 sewer force main project, contract number 1, change order number 3, the amount of $44,288.34. All those in favor indicate by, any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by no? Motion passes unanimously. Okay, we'll move on to contract number 2.
Yeah, so with contract number 2, we're looking at the first change order for this side of the project. This came about as the contractor and I were working through the final details of their plan to bypass flows from the lift station into an existing bypass structure that's on the existing force main. This allows the contractor to, from above ground, draw out of the lift station and pump into the existing force main via a connection that's at the surface. This was not a proposed feature on the new force main, but the utility of it and the asset that it is to the current project for the contractor to bypass around the connection work really emphasized the value that it would add if we also had one on the new line. When we looked into this further, we realized that whether this work were done now or later, it would be necessary to have this feature on the new line in order to complete the future lining project, although it would be a lot more of a headache to install it because you would be installing this structure on an existing in-service line. So it would almost guaranteed be more expensive beyond that of the inflationary change between now and then. So the contractor worked quickly. They're working with me to detail out a price. We've got most of that pricing together, although there are a couple remaining components that the contractor is waiting for supplier responses back on. But the contractor is largely ready to do that work, and that's what brought about Beth's emergency approval to move forward with the work.
So we can do one of two things. We can either let it stand as an emergency approval, and then we'll bring that back to you in September when we have the exact dollar amount. As you said, they're refining it and getting very close to that. Or we can approve it contingent upon, was that 30,000 an estimate up to? Is that still a good number?
Yes, I still think that's conservative.
Okay.
Yep.
So you could also approve the change order to contract number 2, change order 1, for an amount up to $30,000, and then that approval would automatically go to the automatic dollar amount that they end up with. Either way is appropriate and still within the scope and still within the budgeted amount with contingency.
I make a motion that we approve up to 30,000 for the change order on contract
2.
2, change order 1. Wanted to get
will
them in the
support
right
that.
order.
Okay, thank you. There is a motion by Bartlett and support by Escortade for that change order, contract 2, number 1, change order 1, for up to $30,000. Is there further discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed by no? Okay, that motion passes unanimously. Thank you. So we'll get into just a little bit about, on the emergency access for Traverse City, just to let this board know, kind of what's going on.
Yep, so to bring everybody up to speed on that, prior to breaking ground, but after accepting bids, the city of Traverse City approached the township with the inquiry about adding a couple of emergency connection points along the new force main that the city could connect into in the event that one of their force mains or pump stations were to fail. As you guys may be familiar with, there's the Coast Guard force main that runs along Parsons, and there's also a lift station back at around the TBA area. So the city detailed out where they would like to see those connection points. And Wade Trim and the township agreed that we would look into the engineering viability of it once the contractor got us pricing for what the city wanted. And the city confirmed whether or not they would be willing to move forward with that pricing. So now the contractor has gotten us pricing at the directive not to allow this to delay the current project. And that pricing is, the contractor and the city are working back and forth to iron out a few remaining details on that. And at that point, the city will take it before their board to either green or red light it. And at that point, Wade Trim, being East Bay's engineer, and Acme's engineer, and Garfield's engineer, would work together to confirm whether or not those connection points would be suitable in conjunction with the 3 pump stations that currently influence the force main. If we don't have any concerns, it would then allow the township to permit the city to add those connection points. If we determine that the hydraulics just don't work out and that one of the city's pumps could too easily overpower one of the township's pump stations, we would make that determination, and that would effectively stop the potential connections in their tracks. So I think I covered it all.
Couple important things with that is, number one, ever since even before we were out, and before the contractors were out in the field, they were definitely under the directive that this will not delay the project. So as long as it is beneficial for an adjacent municipality, yet does not cost or hinder our project, then we're willing to be collaborative in it. And that's still the approach that we're taking at this point in time. The other thing is, any of the work that Wade Trim has done in facilitating this is being billed through to Traverse City, the city of Traverse City, and that will be paid prior to their connection. I think they have about $4,000 in escrow expenses, and so those will be paid regardless of whether or not that happens. And let's see, I think that's pretty much it. So, yeah, we would make sure that, again, it's not hindering or harmful to this project nor our infrastructure, and is done at their cost. And the time frame that Garth has gone over that they're adhering to so far is not hindering our timeline. So what we want this board to know and take action on tonight is just that within the next 30 days, because we don't want it to take any longer, right? This is potentially a pretty simple connection as far as it, and the decisions should come pretty quickly, right? So again, they get the estimate from Walton, the Traverse City decides yes or no that they are agreeable to paying that, but then it comes back to Wade Trim for further analysis. So we don't want to wait for any of that to happen. We want it to happen one thing right after the other, like clockwork. So because this will be a project separate and with the city, the contract will be between Walton and the city we've talked about. This will not be an additional scope for our project, but I would like this board's knowledge and approval that, yes, we are allowing this to happen in what is our asset and alongside the project right now. So I don't want somebody like the city of Traverse City accessing, even though it's not at our cost, accessing that infrastructure without this board's knowledge.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So if we allow this, then is there some kind of mechanism in place, or will there be a mechanism in place if they should have to use it?
Yeah. So.
Because that means it's running through our pipes, right?
Exactly. And that's what I'm working on with Mark Nettleton. If they choose to do this, we're not going to spend the money with the attorney at this point, even though it's on
Right.
their dime. We would not spend the money with the attorney to carve out an agreement until they know that they're going to go ahead with it.
Right.
But what
That
we
makes
would do is subsequently, they would not access that line, even in an emergency, until we have an agreement on what are the terms and reasons that they would access the line. So seemed premature to do that before we knew any
As
of that
long
would
as they're
happen.
aware, there's going to be something.
Yep, yep. And we actually don't really, we were saying this today, we don't really know if this will be even used in 10, 20, or 30 years. But what it does is it gives them a topside ability to connect in without having to dig, which is a good thing. I have that correct, right?
Yeah, their plan would be in the event of an emergency to run above-ground line actually across the railroad tracks and connect into one of these connections on the north side of the railroad. So,
So this isn't just like everyday operations and we're gonna change a valve and move how the wastewater runs. It is an emergency. There's a line above ground. It's going over railroad tracks where they have to get in touch with MDOT rail, all of those things.
yeah, they would certainly be under the gun to get that emergency piping out of there as quickly as possible, given the railroad.
So with that, if there are other questions, great. If not, I would just look for a motion to allow the collaboration to continue so that it is not detrimental to the township's infrastructure or cost of the project. And it is at the additional, I think is at the expense of the city and done under their contract.
No, I got one quick question. So,
Sure.
certainly support, good community collaboration. It makes sense, but, as things go, no good deed goes unpunished. I'm thinking of kind of a worst-case scenario here. Are any of these connection points future failure points for our piping?
I can't say no,
Yeah.
but they will be built as well as any other fitting along the line. And there are a lot of fittings along the line.
I'm going to say every connection, right?
Yeah.
Is there any additional long-term maintenance that we'll now be responsible for? Any valves or other?
There would be valves. It would not be uncommon to have written into that agreement if one of those valves were to be in need of service or replacement, that the city would have to cost share that. So I think that would be a pretty easy hurdle to overcome in the agreement if
I'm
we get to
guessing
that point.
There's a pit there with a manhole or something as well
Yeah.
to access?
Yep, yep.
Matt Cortez.
Hold on, one quick, your first question, repeat that one more time to me.
Well, I was just, obviously, when you take a pipe that's a full-length pipe that's hundreds of
Oh.
yards long, and
Yeah.
you cut it and add a T and a
What
valve.
I was just gonna say too is a lot of that'll be as well analyzed when they look at their engineering in detail after they agree whether they want to pursue the project or not.
Yeah, and that would undergo the same inspection process. It would go through the pressure testing required to accept the line. So it would not fly under the radar by any means.
Matt?
So this is in case they have an emergency.
Yep.
What if we have an emergency? Can it flow the other way?
It could be utilized. If there's a reason that East Bay or Acme could use it to their benefit, again, it's East Bay's line. So any feature along that line, I would say East Bay reserves the right to utilize to their benefit.
So again, that would probably have to be in that contract.
That's what I'm getting at, is that, we've talked about refurbishing the old line, but if we actually have connections to override to another line, it might be a consideration along that line.
Right.
But that line's really small, which is
Well,
why
I know.
they're looking at,
It certainly could be, though. I mean, for instance, the suction line that comes out of the pump station right now that the contractor will be using to bypass that's also a 6-inch line. So it's, even though we're working with 14, 16, 18-inch force main, you can pump large volumes through short sections of small pipe.
Okay.
For a limited time.
Yeah, yeah.
Other questions? Okay, well, again, if the township would be willing to collaborate in this way, the motion would be to allow East Bay Township with, through Wade Trim, to collaborate with the city of Traverse City to potentially allow an emergency connection onto the lift station number 1 force main project so that it is not adverse to the township financially or through its infrastructure and at a cost to the township.
Just to be clear, that's 2 connections
Two
that are being
connections.
proposed. Yep.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, is there support?
Support.
Okay, there's a motion by M. Cortate and support by Bartlett. Further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by no? Okay, motion passes unanimously. Thank you. This has been.
Thank you, guys.
I'm going to tell you through M&M and Walton and Wade Trim, they have done a phenomenal job. When he says that everything is going great, that is not because they haven't had obstacles and they haven't had challenges. They just, every week, bring to it how they're going to solve things and keep on track and on budget. And they're doing a bang-up job, and you're doing a great job managing the project as well.
Thank you.
Question.
Yes.
Going through some of the progress meeting minutes, there was a note in there for electrofusion couplers were approved for constructability. What is that? Can you elaborate?
Yeah, so electrofusion couplers where 2 sections of HDPE pipe come together but haven't been fused on the surface.
Yeah.
Those electrofusion couplers are used like any other plumbing coupler to join those 2 pieces of pipe. There's actually an electronic node on each side that the contractor hooks up, for lack of a better description, a fancy battery to. The battery's got a computer on it, and it can identify the make, model, and needs of that coupler, and it electrofuses, welds itself to both sides of the pipe.
I guess the question is that an inferior coupling as opposed to doing it above ground with the?
No, we did a fairly extensive review of that, and I would say it's equally as strong as any sleeve or bend or other type fitting. So,
Thank you. Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
Firth. Appreciate it. Okay, we'll move on to our next agenda item, which is the Grand Traverse Metro Emergency Services fiscal year 2027 budget. We have Chief Mackin here, and we have Kim McCann, and here for the budget. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Good evening. As Beth had mentioned, you have the proposed 2027 budget. The budget that you have in your packet was recently approved by the Metro Board. And now it is at the point where we bring it to the townships for approval, so.
Before you go through go through it, I will note that for the board that there is a typo on our resolution on resolved by the township board, number 1, it says 2026 in there, and it should say 2027. So we'll correct that, but sorry about that. Go ahead.
No problem. No, we want that right, so thank you very much. I'll just go over a couple, if you turn past the, you got the cover page and you have our mission, vision, values. I'll just briefly touch on some of the priorities that we identified in this year's budget when we started this process back in April. So for the 2027, a number of the priorities are typical of each year. However, looking at, what we had coming up in the next year, again, the personnel is always a concern, very competitive market in terms of making sure that we have retention of employees. So providing, competitive wages and benefits. We had just finished up some contract negotiations. So again, we're looking at what we need to do to be able to keep our staff and, again, deal with those things. So we did take into consideration that. Also, the other large consideration, we did settle on a contract, but we do have, each year we do have wages to open and then healthcare to open. Healthcare benefits, it's difficult, I'll say, financially, a lot of rising costs, but again, those are things that we incorporated into the budget so that we have the ability to work within that, and again, continue to provide for those employees and hopefully retain them. Also, staffing is always a consideration. We wanted to continue to support our staffing model, and then also look at, how are we going to continue to bolster that, and then also meet the rising service demand. So in the 2026 budget, we did incorporate halfway through the year the 3 additional full-time personnel, which we recently did hire. So this 2027 budget has full-year funding for the new personnel. So again, we have that within the budget, something that we know that fits within the budget, given the current millage, and then also provide for, our part-time staffing, making sure that we can staff, as you well know, because you do employ part-time personnel, especially with the ambulance service, you get those ebbs and flows of people coming and going. So sometimes you have to hire a few extra just because you're going to have some normal attrition as people move on. So we wanted to make sure that we have funding to maintain the spots that we want to keep, and then also some additional for some overflow when we have a few extra personnel and as we deal with those ebbs and flows within part-time staffing. So work through that. As far as other funding, our apparatus replacement schedule, we're really happy with how that's going. We're continuing to fund that schedule of our frontline fire apparatus. Obviously, we just recently took delivery of the new ladder truck, and then we're also looking to surplus some of the older equipment and then put some of that funding back into our PIF so that we can continue with that program. We do have an engine on order for 27, 28. The engine will be done. We do have a squad and some other smaller things that we have within 27, but as far as apparatus, no major purchases with apparatus, and again, funding for the future there. Looking at, and again, we're trying to maintain acceptable debt service. We did pay off some of our other debt service, some loans that we had, so again, we're pretty happy with maintaining a little bit lower debt service, especially since we did just take on a portion of the ladder truck in terms of financing. So again, that was part of the consideration looking forward. Again, looking at replacing some of our aged equipment that's non-compliant essential equipment. What we're looking at in the 27 budget is 4 cardiac monitors that we're replacing. We recently, through a grant, replaced all of our AEDs, about 8 new AEDs, which was nice to be able to get that grant funding. Extrication equipment, we have some extrication equipment in the 27 budget, but again, relying on some of those smaller grants, not the big AFGs, it really makes a difference, even though they are smaller. We had the Firehouse Subs grant, which gave us $40,000 in extrication equipment for the new ladder truck. So all of those kind of come together and help us. And as far as some of the larger non or aging equipment, we do have a grant application out for SCBA. That replacement is in the area about $600,000, but we do have a grant with the AFG. Unfortunately, we all know how competitive federal money is these days, but we do have a plan within, if we are unable to get that funding to try to, make sure that we can get that within the 28 budget. So again, decisions that we make in 27 with that budget, we're also forecasting ahead on what we're going to need in 28. So additional looking at the future, again, our capital needs we had for the year, some smaller capital facilities things. We're trying to stay on top of the facilities. We do have budgeted in there some roof repairs for Station 8 and Station 9, some tuck pointing at Station 12. Again, just trying to take care of those smaller things. The larger station and facility needs are things that we have to continue to look at. And then looking at some other things within 27, we did put in the budget to add 3 additional lieutenants. That isn't hiring more additional people, it's just promoting 3 people up, and that's something that we're looking to do to kind of cover a little bit of a gap with some of our command structure within the authority. We did recently, obviously this year, we did move the captain into a full-time shift supervisor's role because staffing will allow that. So that actually just started at the beginning of this month. So this would be kind of the second phase of bolstering that command structure. So, and again, as we are with every year with the budget, a priority is just to make sure that we're being responsible, fiscally responsible, and just transparent with our spending and what we're budgeting for. So those were the mindset, those were the priorities when we started this process. And as I said, we started a little bit early in April with Kim and I, and we kind of moved into May and then our traditional process. As we get into the details, I'll turn it over to Kim and she'll cover all that. So, thank you.
Hello, everyone. On page 4, you can kind of see, just to go over that briefly, it's just our budget timeline at the top. At the bottom, it is our fund balance and millage history. This is a 2.75 millage rate, which is the same as we requested for the 26 budget, so we're staying at the same level. So that just kind of gives you an idea of what our history is with our millage rate. On page 5, there's, if you go down to look at the bottom box, that is the actual taxable values for the 3 townships, for Acme, East Bay, and Garfield. The 2026 versus 2025 shows the appreciation for those 2 years. And in the center, you'll see that in the center of that page, in the colored box there, you can see what the contribution is going to be from all 3 townships. East Bay's contribution to our budget would be $2,584,569. The overall between the 3 townships is a 6.4% or 6.48% increase. So that just kind of covers what each township would be contributing. On page 6 is our budget by cost center, and this is what I'm going to just really focus on. There is a lot of detail attached, but I'm just going to kind of give it to you at a high level. For looking in the blue column, which is the draft budget for fiscal year 2027, the total revenues, as I mentioned before, is the bulk of our revenue comes from the 3 township contributions. There's also some smaller revenue amounts for budget interest, plan reviews, cost recovery, and donations and grants. So that makes up the revenues. Under the expenditures, obviously, the personnel services are our largest cost, and as the, combination of things, we're showing a pretty good increase over our projected fiscal year 26. And that's because, obviously, we have a conservative estimate for wage and salary increases, increases for adjustments made to the union contract. Then, as Chief mentioned, too, the 3 additional firefighters that just started, we're in for a full year in the 2027 budget. An anticipated increase in health insurance, and then an increase for workers' comps due to anticipated higher payroll and some claims that we've had so far this year. So that encompasses our increase to personnel services. Supplies, primarily the increase is related to, we had some stuff that was originally budgeted under repair and maintenance that we've now budgeted under supplies, so that's our cleaning supplies for the stations. We've also, on the supplies line item, there was 6 sets of turnout gear were budgeted for under a protective equipment account, and also budgeting as well for some increased fuel costs, because obviously the price of fuel, diesel fuel, has gone up immensely. For the contract services, repair and maintenance, and other services and charges line items, those are pretty minimal increases, primarily reflective of inflationary. Some of the individual line items for those cost centers were increased and some decreased, so it just really netted to smaller percentages. The capital outlay, as Chief alluded to, we kind of detail budget that. There was a lot more for last year, as you can see. But that consists of specifically identified building improvement, equipment purchases, and then for 2027, as Chief mentioned before, for station 12, there was some exterior repair, and then roof repair to Station 9, and then there was a smaller pack skid that was like $14,000, but the rest of it is made up of primarily smaller items. For the debt service line, this reflects the payments for our cloud services, and that's just the increase that we anticipate with those agreements. For the contingency and emergency, that's just smaller funds that we put in there. The transfers out is the transfers that go out of our general fund into our public improvement fund, and that's just what we need to fund the public improvement fund for the year. So as you can see at the bottom of the general fund, we're going to add like $9,600 to our fund balance, so this is pretty much a break-even budget. Under the PIF, the Public Improvement Fund, you'll see for the revenues, that's primarily made up of the transfer from the $750,000 from the general fund, as well as some interest, the capital outlay. As Chief alluded to, we specifically budget for that. That includes the roof replacement for part of Station 8, and then purchasing the 4 monitors and the extrication equipment, and then purchase of a squad. For 2026, obviously, it was quite large because we had the captain's car as well as the ladder truck and the Station 8 remodel in that line item. So there's, counts kind of for the difference in there. And then the debt service amount, and that just only reflects the engine 24 and the ladder truck because, as Chief alluded to, we paid off some debt early. So anyway, that comes down at the bottom of the Public Improvement Fund with a $15,000 addition to our fund balance. So overall, between the two funds, it's about a little under $25,000 addition to fund balance. So we're kind of operating with the millage that we have and trying to use it to our best effect. Attached, like I said, is the detail on the line item budget for the revenue and expenditure report, our 10-year capital plan, which you can see year by year what we intend to purchase, as well as our debt schedule for 10 years. So if does anyone have any questions on our budget?
Any questions from board members?
So this will come before us at the September meeting with the public hearing?
It will, but we can approve this budget. That will, for setting the 4029, which we would set then, keep it steady at 2.75. When she mentioned an increase of 6%, that means the revenue's increasing because we have had change in valuation or assessments, right? But our millage is staying the same. So we can approve our commitment to that and the resolution that is attached on page 69 of the packet. We would start Resolution 17. And that would commit our funds to Metro's 2027 budget year with the financial contribution equal to 2.75 mils. Times the ad valorem retail property tax value. So for us, that is $2,584,569. The resolution also agrees that we'll distribute it by May 15th, 2027, and that we recognize that any of the townships can use any combination of millage or general fund that they want to. If there aren't any further questions, is there a motion for this resolution 2026-17?
Motion. Make a motion to
Okay.
approve it.
Okay,
Support.
all right, there's a motion by Lyle and support by Cook. Any further discussion? We'll do a roll call.
Lyle?
Yes.
Cook?
Yes.
Bartlett?
Yes.
M. Cortade?
Yes.
S. Cortade?
Yes.
Friend?
Yes. All right, well, thank you very much for being here and for your work with Metro. Much appreciated. Okay, we will move on to the Evergreens on Hammond. We have Lindsay LeBlanc, who is here from Granger. And just to kind of tee this up a little bit, what we have before us is the application for the residential housing district, as well as the brownfield plan. We do have a public hearing tonight, so don't let me forget Ann or Sue, that we will have the public hearing portion of that as we go through this. And, hold on one second. And then with that, as you'll recall, when we did the residential housing district for the Public Act 237 in the past, it's a two-step process. It's a creation of the district if the township so chooses to, and then any application evaluation is later. And then as well, Granger has been working with Ann Jamison with the County Brownfield Authority to develop the Brownfield Plan. And that as well comes through, as this board knows, through the township as a recommendation to the Brownfield Authority. So with that, I'll kind of let you take it from there.
Sure. So as we discussed the last time I was here, we are looking to get your support for both the 237 tax designation, the reduced tax designation for our units that we're providing for workforce housing, and support for the brownfields. We met with Ann actually last week, received some feedback from the brownfields based on our market study and some research that's happened here in the county of what that workforce housing looks like. So our final proposal for what we'll be providing for rents at this particular, as a reminder, it's 33-bedroom single-family homes that we'll be doing. So the site plan that was approved back in 2024 is still what we are moving forward with. So no changes there to the units, and we're working on getting that extended with Claire. So of those units, 2 of them will fall in the 80% AMI, so our rent will be capped at $1,904 a month. That's in, so that includes the allowance, so it would be above, so right, so we could charge more, but we're reducing less. $403 a month for utilities. 9 of the 30 units will be 100% AMI, so our rent will be capped at $2,555 a month. And the remaining 19 units will be at $3,150 a month. And so these will all income qualified, so any tenant that comes to us has to make within those income brackets that falls within that 80, 100, and 120. So we're really excited. We think that it's a great benefit to the community. We've been working with Munson and a couple other employers who are looking for housing for their employees that's more affordable, and we think this is a great option. The tax abatement that's directly tied to East Bay Township has a cap of 12 years. And it will not include emergency services, so that's outside of that. And then our brownfield plan is 15 years.
Can you speak up a little bit, please?
Yeah, sure.
We can't hear you back here.
Okay, sorry.
So in just recapping a little bit of that, the residential housing district, that is a tax abatement, and this board will remember that that takes some of the tax and decreases it to a specific tax, is what they call it. And that specific tax is about 50% of what the tax would normally be. That's done through the state process. So if a district is created, the state is notified, and if we receive an application, then for a certificate under that district, then that goes through the state. The state must also approve that. We did one with Crimson that was approved. Under Public Act 237, it does allow for the capture of special assessment districts for our emergency services, as you all know. But we have had, we would not have passed, I think, if I take the temperature of the board correctly. And we have had developers who are acknowledging that and willing to enter into an agreement so that our emergency services are held whole.
And I think that includes school debt, correct?
What's that?
That includes school debt, too.
I would have to take a look at your numbers on that, but I think you're right on
Yeah,
that.
it includes both emergency services and school debt.
Yeah.
So honoring both of those to
Right.
taxing.
So that agreement would be with the school district. Ours, just with us, would be with the special
Oh. I see what
assessment
you're saying, yes,
district. Yep. So they're looking at doing the same with now I do not have the draft agreement, which would follow what Crimson did. And the reason I don't is because that doesn't come into play until we receive a certificate. So it's not really with the creation of the district, it's with the certificate that we would potentially approve to go to the state. And again, that was for 12 years. And then the brownfield portion does not capture, by just nature of the statute, does not capture a special assessment district. And you have that as 15 years.
Correct.
And then we are also, if you recall, when I look back at the minutes, when you were here last month to introduce this, we had 10 units that were workforce housing. And as you were working through this with Ann, now all 30 units are workforce housing.
Correct. So all of them now will be capped at, so the state of Michigan issues allowances for what is the median area median income. So all of them will fall within that. We were already providing the balance of the units within that 120% AMI, but we've just committed to keeping that for the duration of both the brownfield and the 237. So that way it'll always be considered workforce housing, so there won't be a jump in the future. It'll stay within the area median income of Grand Traverse County. Correct.
And then the format of ownership is similar to Live AE, which is up the street, which is, these are rental units. They'll differ from Live AE in that, well, there are separate housing, they're not attached.
Correct.
And these are one floor
Correct, so
level
they're
living.
ranch-style homes. And then most of them will be one-year rentals, 1 to 2 year, like lease terms. We do offer as short as 3 months, and that's for travel nurses, so you have to be qualified for that. But that's really quite few and rare in between, so. But this is not short-term rentals. I know that was a question before, and I just want to double clarify that. These will be long-term residents that we're looking to house here in the community.
Yep, and that it does not short-term rentals through our zoning and through the site plan approval and all of that. So that's where it's documented for that. Let's see, I'm trying to think if there was some other portion that I wanted to mention as we were going through this.
A portion of the reimbursements will be going back to the township.
That's the part that I was,
So we've been working with Claire for the remainder of your Safe Schools trail system. So we'll be, there's around, I think it's capped at $529,000 that'll be coming back to the township in the first 6 years of the brownfield. I think is what we agreed to, Beth. 8?
it's a little bit longer than that, but it's still, at least we're not doing what we did with Live AE, which was, that was our first time through it, and we did not realize we were at the end of the reimbursement. So with Crimson and with this development, we are part and parcel out of the gate for reimbursement. As Lindsay mentioned, and Claire's been working on, is when we did the Allen Edwind with Live AE, there was a portion, we were able to capture a portion to fund trail connection to the network that we're working on here with 3 Mile Trail and Safe Routes to School. And that is an expensive portion of it too, because there's some terrain changes. And so this project falls in line with that as far as the trails and the connection. And so we're able to access funding and as well a decent amount of funding, which accommodates for the increased cost of the terrain adjustment there. So, Claire, did you want to mention anything else on that, or does that kind of cover that as far as the trail network?
I think that covers it, yeah, it's between the Live East,
Yep.
between the Live East Bay and this brownfield, between the two of them, they would fully fund that connection to all of the neighborhoods at that 4 Mile and Hammond intersection.
Yep. And that'll link up to the end where we're going at Carlisle Road with the Safe Routes to School. Are there questions for Lindsay on, let's maybe take this piece by piece. Number one, in general, on the development, that sort of thing, any general questions? And then we'll kind of go through the residential housing district and the brownfield plan. Any questions about the ownership or how they're renting or the AMI levels.
Just curious, Granger Group, that's who you work for?
Correct, yes.
Is there any physical presence in Grand Traverse County for Granger Group?
We do own property up in Acme Township, and we do have one development up there. Once this development is built, we'll have enough to support a full-time person up here.
Okay.
But right now, no, we're traveling out of Grand Rapids. But our goal is to get an office up here.
What is the intent? It's not really relevant to this, but I'm just curious, what's the intent for a Grand Rapids-based company to hire local contractors to do this work? Or is the intent to use
Yeah.
Grand Rapids-based contractors?
Great question. So actually, this particular development, we have a JV partner with us called Becker Brothers, Becker Construction. They are two brothers. They own multiple marinas here up in Traverse City. They are local to Traverse City. They live here. Chris unfortunately couldn't join me tonight. But they will be partnering with us in building these as well, so bringing local trades in. These particular homes will be modular homes, so they'll be actually built and brought in. That's the way we can make it most economical. But there's the site work, the setup work, so Spec is going to be our civil engineer, or I'm sorry, our site contractor, they're a local company. And then Becker will be doing all the finishing. And then we are working with Grand Traverse Outdoors, to do all of our landscaping. So all local developments besides the houses themselves, but if we could do them stick-built, we would, but we couldn't get it down to a price that could make this achievable.
The development that you've done in Acme, was it similar?
We brought up Orion for that, so they're out of Grand Rapids. They did the building, but Team Elmer's was our site contractor, and Grand Traverse Outdoors was our landscaping company.
Were they stick-built? Or?
They were stick-built, yes. And then our civil engineer for that project was GTEC, and then for this one is Doug Mansfield. So, yes, no, definitely partnering with local people. We're excited to be here. We love it up here. Our owner is a big advocate and wants to move up here, so hence the excitement besides building it up, so.
Yeah, I mean, that was just been a frequent gripe that I've heard out of the local trades community is that,
Yeah, I understand that.
Grand Rapids developers like to come up here and bring their own people to do work, and
Yeah, we've been, a big partner of ours that we're hoping to partner with is Cunningham Limp, and they have an office up here, so, no, we're definitely trying to make inroads with the developers, other developers that are up here, and contractors and designers.
And actually, I think, I can't remember who was here that met with Claire and I. You guys had discussed, you've been in touch with, and I think you touched upon this, is large employers in the area.
Correct.
And kind of what those needs were.
Yeah, so Munson is one of them that we have been having meetings with, and maybe coming up with an employee partnership for their employees to rent from us at a discounted rate. That's a slow process, but a relationship we're trying to build. And there is two other manufacturing companies, and I'm sorry, I don't recall the names, but yes, that's definitely one avenue we're looking at doing, is kind of supporting not just tourists that come here in the McMansions, but the people that live here that really make this economy thrive.
Okay, with that, did you have a question?
I just, clarification, I guess, on your sheet that you give us, the very, down near the bottom, it said the land is taxed and emergency service SAD is still applicable to the land. Now, what,
Yeah, so with the 237, it breaks it out in a couple ways. So the land that's there will still be taxed as it is, it'll still have the assessment, everything else. It's the additional value that they put on it with the building that gets the specific tax and would be exempt from the SAD, other than they are signing an agreement that they will be subject to the SAD.
okay, so then what, just so I understand this, so the building, let's say, $20 million for all these. So the tax for Metro will be based on, when it's built out, $20 million is what,
The assessed value, yes.
okay.
Yeah. The reason I put that in there, maybe I made a distinction that doesn't even need to be made, but the state does make it, in that the land is separate and treated how it always is treated. It's the abatement is on the increased value or the improvement to the property.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you look at it's a request for designation of the residential housing tax abatement district. It's the 4th paragraph. The residential housing tax abatement, in that it says right now, the property itself only contributes $261 a year. But with all of the additions that we're building, the homes that we're bringing on, you'll then get an increase of, it'll now be $15,800. So a significant increase will come into your public safety.
Well, in our intent, I think as a board, if I might just have a little latitude and for the board, is just that, we're not necessarily looking to up the revenue of Metro or what we utilize for our CPOs or our ambulance. What we're looking for is to make sure that a development doesn't come in and naturally, more people are just more cost,
I was going
right?
to say, yeah, it's a strain on the.
You have a heart
We get
attack.
that as a developer, that it's a strain on the current
Right.
system, so.
I mean, somebody in that development is going to have shortness of breath or chest pain or something like that, and we roll on those calls, and it's an expense. So that's what we're trying to make sure that we're able to cover those appropriately as our community changes.
On that note, I've had this feedback on these other plans and these tax abatements. I'm not a fan of them. I know they're, allowed. I'm not supportive of them strictly for that exact reason, given the fact that, what I see happening with these, not just in Grand Traverse County, but around the state, and I think I got a little bit of a flippant response when I suggested this to a previous applicant that got approved, was that, this state education and school operating is captured. And with these developments, naturally come kids that are being put in the school system. And, we're basically, as a state, all across the state, if every community around the state is approving these tax abatements at some point, probably here sooner rather than later, the big pot of money that goes to the state fund that then gets distributed back to the school districts is going to dwindle down to a point where, somebody's going to be left holding the bag. They're going to need increased taxes from somewhere to cover that hole that's left if every community does this everywhere. And I've got real concerns that, it's going to be, me and my family and the rest of the community here in East Bay Township is going to be left, being asked to cover whatever that gap is.
Amen.
So, nope, we don't do that. We don't do that in this meeting room. There is no jeering, there is no applauding. Everyone is allowed their piece to talk. Thank you, appreciate that. Okay, other questions and comments?
What is the total cost of this project?
13 million,
13 million.
a little over 13 million.
One of the, those bring up great issues, Matt. I would say a couple things that cross my mind is, one, we're aware of the shortage of housing that we have in this area and need in this area. The other thing is that I reflect back to when we did the master plan and the input that we got from residents for the master plan. And part of that was a real preference for, and maybe it's because that's how most of us in East Bay Township live, is in a single-family home, right? Not as much of a preference for townhomes, even less probably for apartments, even though we know that they're needed. And so when I see something like Live AE, which has a very different composition, and then I see something like this development, which also has the same elements that I heard expressed in the master plan, but even different here. So like for Live AE, single-family homes, which people said they desired. The another thing is, when we went to the Zoning Atlas Network with all the research that was done, I was floored when they mentioned, and I had sent that video, but gosh, it's an hour long, and to pick out one portion of it, you probably easily missed it. But I was floored at the statistic that said how many people in the market were not looking for a single-family home to buy and live in. I was like, that seemed foreign to me, because that's what I've always lived, right, in my 34 years of marriage. But what they cited was that a large percentage were actually looking for like less maintenance, right? So something where things are maintained and they have a, I don't know, easier, quicker lifestyle. So I try to look at that statistic with, and that drives the market, and then look at what we heard from our master plan. And then I look at Live AE, which is good as far as offering that, but yet it offers everything if you've been in them on 2 floors. I mean, you cannot, my parents could never live in a Live AE place because of the accessibility issues. And this changes that. In a very small scope, granted, it's only 30 units, but it offers the same rental ability with the 30 units in an area that has infrastructure. I mean, there's a reason that we have an urban growth boundary, and there's a reason that the infrastructure that we put in when they were doing the roundabout, you'll recall we put water going north and south and sewer going east and west so that we didn't have to dig up the roundabout after it was built, or a developer didn't have to. So the infrastructure's there, and, as much as I like to see things remain a field or remain a property owner has the right to develop under the zoning ordinance.
Sure.
And, as far as whether they get the incentives, I will say, these statutes were created by the legislature. They offer the incentives that are needed. If the incentives were not needed, we would not have the shortage that we have. And you're right, at some point, right, will there be an end to these? Gosh, you would sure think so. But at that point in time, we've taken advantage of it. We have the housing, and the cost will be spread statewide. So it would not be primarily borne upon our residents in that way. So those are just kind of some of the things that I'm thinking about when I look at this.
And I just want to be clear, this doesn't tell the whole financial picture, right? This is about the rent loss and what that looks like. But this project without this funding could not happen. The cost, she just mentioned, right, the cost of fuel, the cost of construction is astronomical. We are making pennies on this project. We are not walking away with a bigger payday because we are asking you to help support this project. I think this project makes 10 basis points off of what would kill it. So some investors are turning it down because it's less risky to put their money in the stock market than it is in here and in Grand Traverse County. So this is by no means a payday for Granger or for me. This is really us investing in a community that we believe in, and needing this in order to make it a reality.
I appreciate that, Lindsay. I'm not sure that and I don't mean this in a derogatory way. I
Okay.
truly don't. I don't know that I buy into all of that. But, to the extent that Granger's priorities align with the township's, fine.
Okay.
And if we are getting housing, we're getting a style of housing that was communicated to us through the master plan, and that we're hearing the market desires, and Granger is willing to do that, and it takes incentives, then that, like I said, that becomes workable, and you have the property and the ability to develop that. Yeah.
Question,
Sure.
you guys have done these properties at different spots around the state, correct? Or is this the first one?
No, we've done,
Okay. My concern is, what does this do to the value of the houses around it? I mean, you look across 4 Mile Road, and you got all the group of homes, and then you got a subdivision setting there. Has there ever been a study to find out if that devalues their property with that kind of setup or not?
I don't,
You know what I'm asking, right?
yeah, and I don't know if I have the answer to that. I mean, right, we know that there is a housing need, and so we are trying to meet that. I think it allows more opportunity and options for people. I don't think that necessarily devalues someone else's home, right? Not everyone wants to live in my subdivision or rent my home. Other people want to own them. And so I think that you're kind of comparing apples to oranges in a sense.
No,
So-
no, we're not doing that.
But, so I don't have the answer to that. We can dig into our market study for that, but I don't think that it devalues any of your properties. I think, in fact, it makes it a more safe place to live because, right, there's more lighting, more people. So
Glenn,
that
I
would be a
say-
personal opinion.
I would say, when you ask that question, what comes across my mind is when I lived in English Woods and Holiday Forest was going to be developed, right? Did I think that that devalued my property? Sure, because I had woods way out in the back of my property. But does the other property owner have the right to develop under the zoning ordinance? And they did.
Well, the thing is, if a property owner, I guess what I look at, property owner by rights can do whatever is allowed, I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
But when you start down special,
The incentives,
yeah,
yeah.
that
No, I
you're
get that.
you're taking something and encouraging it where they couldn't normally do it with that piece of property. No, but
Yeah.
that's my big concern is, and ever since the one on 4 Mile and Hammond on the west side of the road was done,
Live,
when I drive past there, I think about the hoses that's in there's whatever, there's
Headwaters.
18 hoses.
Oh, Crystal Ridge.
There you go. And if it has taken away from their value of what their house would sell for, because you've got a lot of houses right around it. When I say a lot, the houses that are that close together is a lot of houses. I mean, 177 or something
yeah.
when it's built out?
171, I think.
Yeah, and I guess when I see these, that's the things I start thinking about is, we need more houses, there's no doubt about it. But is it devaluing somebody else's property that's a single-family home versus something that's compacted in?
Well, these are single-family homes.
Yeah, what I'm talking about is,
But you can look at, you could do the comparison, like Holiday Hills area has Vale Drive. That's all multifamily.
Yep.
Does that devalue the houses up there? There's
I think it
townhouses
does.
up there.
I think it does, to be honest with you.
But have you compared that?
Well, we haven't had many sell. The one right across the street just sold, but, and they didn't get that much for it. But there's other issues. But,
Yeah, one thing too I'd have y'all consider is where are we planning on putting housing? There's a
Right.
demand for housing, so where is it going to go to the extent that there is housing in East Bay Township? And, folks, we've got 4 schools, 6 in this township, 4 schools here. We're located near most of the county's largest employers. So, there are other townships who have had more housing implemented. We're certainly going to have some. Where are we going to put it? And I look to where are we within the growth boundary? Where are the utilities located? And how do we get the housing so that we don't have the housing shortage? The supply, will affect the price of the housing. And it's crazy when you start to look at the price of housing sometimes. I'm sure you all have noticed it too, but.
So, different topic. You're waiting, you're postponing or putting off the deferrals until 2027?
Correct. So it wouldn't go into effect until the entire development is in place.
Okay.
So we are building them in phases.
Yeah.
The phasing plan, I think, in this packet is incorrect. I need to
I
get
was going to say, I didn't know there were
really
six
small.
phases.
3, I'm sorry.
Something.
I didn't catch that. So, yeah, no, we'll be.
There's 3 in the written.
Correct. We'll be developing them in 3 phases. And so 10 units per phase. So it could take longer to build up. Our preference is try to get all of them built by the middle of 2028.
Okay.
Correct.
So the page 94 that has that
Yes,
many?
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. I will get you guys an updated plan.
I think the
My
last
apologies.
month's plan was in 3,
Okay,
but I didn't go back and look at
Right.
it.
When I saw 6, I thought that was drawn out.
yep.
Yeah,
So
that was a bit
3.
long, but
Just another thing on this topic. For what it's worth, absolutely support, developers' rights and property rights and to develop things, within, our zoning ordinances. Have an issue with some of this tax capture stuff. We heard post-COVID, I think it was really a ramp up in this region, like in 2021, there was Housing North came and spoke to us quite a bit. Traverse Connect spoke to us quite a bit, frequently about actual numbers. What do we need? What's affordable housing? I don't know. I feel like it's 2026 now. That whole affordable housing, workforce housing. It's a nice tagline. It sounds nice. But when you start crunching numbers and looking at even and I don't see any. Maybe I missed it in the report, but I don't see what AMI is here, what the actual numerical value is, but, looking at 30, what is that?
75,000 is 100% of AMI? Do you recall?
Exactly what it is for family of 4.
Yeah, I was thinking it was like 75.
Okay. Yeah, but I mean, I'm just looking at,
Do you recall?
I mean, I can very easily pull it up. We had it up earlier today, but no. I know once you get, I think, to 120% AMI, so the people living in the homes that are at the 120% AMI rent, that income caps at like 125,000 for three incomes, totaling 125,000.
3 incomes, like you can
3.
count 3 people?
If they're over 24.
Correct, if they're over 24 years old,
So
correct.
if you have a couple in there, you must count both their incomes toward it. And if you have a couple and they have a 25-year-old who has an income, then you would count that towards it. That will have to go into their reporting.
Yes. So if my husband and I made 135 together, we would not qualify to live here and could not rent
At the 120%.
at the 120, correct.
So you truly are.
You would be allowed to rent, but only at market rate.
Well,
But they don't
we don't
have any
allow
market
that. We don't have any market rent for
You're going
units.
to income verify everybody in the entire development.
Correct,
the
yes.
30 homes.
But under that scenario, could you get a couple of, not to say it's a bad thing, I'm just trying to understand, could you have a couple of buddies go in and have 3 roommates that would all qualify?
But all 3 of them, the total income for that unit could not exceed 125,000.
So when you think of that, I do believe possibly you can, but I think more so what we've seen is like, the traditional couple, whatever. You truly are talking workforce housing because you would divide that by 2.
Correct. I mean, that's obviously who we want all renters. But we assume since they're single-family homes, it probably will be families.
I don't know, I mean, I guess just, throwing it out there. I would argue, no disrespect to this board or anybody else that's approving these things, I would argue that based on the tables that get presented to us, the numbers, the assumptions, the asterisks, the fine print and all this, we don't really, I don't think anybody really understands what we're actually approving and can really kind of crunch down and get to these numbers.
So here's the thing that I've learned through going through at least the 2 brownfields that we've done so far. And that is, you're right, all of these are projections, right? It's a lot like when we do a road special assessment district. We don't know until we get to the final product and the final bid. And then even then, when we get to the bid, we don't know the final amount until the project's done. So these are all projections. But one thing maybe we don't see on this side of it, and I'm seeing it now with the Live AE with Ann, because I copied on a lot of those emails going back and forth, is these numbers all have to qualify for what they say they do when they do their reporting once they have their brownfield. So when they come back and they submit for reimbursement, they don't just say, oh, remember those numbers that we showed you? We want reimbursement now based on that. They have to go through and document all of those. And if they don't qualify, they don't qualify for reimbursement. Because you use actual numbers, not projections, but you can't have the actual numbers at this point. If they don't hit the marks, you don't qualify and you don't get the incentive.
Yeah, correct. It's like there's 2 sides to it. There's not only can we not charge any more rent than what is allowed by the state, but the people living there cannot earn more income. And so we get their W-2s every year. We have to ask for pay stubs. And every year we have to submit to the township what our rent was and who our tenants were and what, like there's a tenant profile. We built out a whole dashboard for it. Tenant profile, what their income was, and again, we have to submit W-2s. And we have to do that for all of these units because all of them are income qualified. So there's not some. And I mean, I guess I haven't asked the question, Beth, but I'm sure that's the answer, is if we miss or if one of our tenants exceeds that, I'm sure we probably won't get reimbursed for that because we wouldn't qualify.
You would, on the specific tax under the 237, you would actually end up being, like, you could do it 2 different ways, but you could end up with like 2 different tax ID numbers for that parcel, where for your improvements, you have the ones that qualify and the ones that don't. The ones that qualify would still get the incentive, the ones that don't. Or you can put them in and they'll reallocate it. But anyway, the point is, yeah, you're right, you don't get that portion on the units that are not qualified. One of the things, and I've talked with Claire about this quite a bit, that I'm going to give you a chance to comment in a second. One of the things that I really like about our first project, which was the Live AE, one of the things I like to see in these projects is a diverse income stratification within a community, right? Whether the community's 30 units or whether it's 100 and some units. And I like to see that because that's what a community's made up of. It's not just people who are solely 80 to 100% of AMI or whatever, right? The county, interestingly enough, has a preference for under 100% AMI and less, not even up to the 120. In this project, I like that it spans, well, it's all workforce housing, which makes sense because it's a much smaller project than, say, like Live AE or Crimson. But even within that project, it's spanning you've got some that are on the lower end and you've got some that are up to the 120. So in a way, it incorporates that diversity of income too. Claire, did you have some input or some thoughts? I thought I saw you chomping at the bit to say something.
Well, good evening. I had just a couple comments just to go back to our master plan. So that intersection there, going through the master plan process, we did increase the density there. So we do allow up to 8 dwelling units per acre, kind of within that moderate density residential. So I would just comment that this development is significantly lower. The density that they're proposing is 5 dwelling units per acre. We allow up to 8 units per acre. So I think, we really do have to look at what our master plan how that's guiding us and how, what our zoning reflects based on the master plan, because, we're looking to accommodate growth within the township. We also have goals to preserve environmentally sensitive areas, preserve open space, while still accommodating an influx in population. So I think that balance is important, and kind of referring back to the master plan and the zoning ordinance in terms of what is allowed and kind of what we desire for future growth. The other comment that I just wanted to make, I do appreciate this plan in terms of what they're contributing to the trail. So with the Live East Bay development, I think they contributed about $350,000 to our public trail extension. This plan was significantly less units, only 30 units. They're able to work the finances to put $530,000 towards the Safe Routes to School trail extension that will connect all of the neighborhoods within that 4 Mile and Hammond intersection. And we're excited about that. We have had positive conversations with all of the property owners along that stretch, so we are, confident that we'll be able to move forward with that, an important trail connection. So those were the only 2 comments. Thanks.
I have a question for you, because I know you work a lot with housing and in a nonprofit. What about the connotation? Is housing still in a critical need?
Yes. I think that the county undertaking an update to their housing needs assessment will be really helpful for us, because I think that will help us better understand exactly where the needs are. I know anecdotally, yes, there is still a huge need, but is it, what AMI range is it from? We've got 60% up to 120, or 30% up to 120%. Is it the rental? Is it the owner occupied? Because I know, based on the 2023 housing needs assessment, they were saying, the renter, the units that were the renter occupied units, they were targeting a lower AMI. The owner occupied units, they were targeting a higher AMI, and I think that will be helpful to have some more guidance in terms of what the makeup is and where the need is.
So are you saying that this, from a zoning perspective, it's a 5 units per acre, it could be 8 units per acre, so we're saying it could be 18 more units than what it is?
By right,
By
yeah.
right.
We allow apartments there. We allow
I was just gonna
multifamily.
ask that. Can apartments go in that area? Multi-level?
Yeah, and for years, we've allowed multifamily in that moderate density district.
Could it be light?
Across the street, too.
What's that?
There's multi-level across.
The headwaters, yeah.
Headwaters is across the street.
Could it also be LIHTC?
Yes.
So-
We don't have any income restrictions with zoning, so,
Sure,
yeah.
Sure. So LIHTC, for anybody who knows it, what is the stratification for LIHTC?
So that's the low-income housing tax credit, I think is normally closer to, it's normally over 30% AMI, but maybe 30 to 50,
So
maybe 60.
we could, this corner could see a multi-level apartment complex that's a LIHTC facility, the LIHTC development.
Yeah, which is approved through the state, so it wouldn't come in front of wouldn't need approval through the township unless there was other pilot or other types of tax incentives.
Question, what's the AMI, 100% of the AMI?
What
For
is
Grand
that
Traverse
income?
County?
What is the income?
Yeah, isn't that what it is, AMI? that-
Yeah, the area median income, we would need to double check. I think it's a little over 75,000 for a family of 4. I think it's closer to 80 to 90, but I don't remember exactly what it is. Yeah, we can check.
And that would be at the 100%?
Yes, for 100% AMI.
Just double check, did you say 500,000 towards the trail?
529,000 is what's written into the plan.
It's $15,000 a house.
It's pretty significant compared to other plans that we've approved. It's, quite a bit of funding.
Okay, I was just trying to look for that if I had it really quick, but I don't.
So one question.
Yeah.
This could have also been commercial project, because wasn't, at one point in time, they were talking about a drive-through coffee shop?
They were, but we didn't allow it through zoning. So they could have maybe come in with a PUD, but it never
just
really made it.
remember the discussion.
Yeah, I don't think it ever made it in front of Planning Commission besides maybe a sketch plan review.
Thank you.
I just want to say, don't diss on coffee. I mean, there's an important place for coffee.
You should have seen us during the elections. We
Yeah.
would have done almost anything for a good coffee. Well, no, not really. Not really.
Okay, so getting back to this, what is before this board, we have the residential housing creation, or, I'm sorry, establishment of a residential housing district. You know, recall that a residential housing district can be the amount of area that we determine it to be. What we've done and what I think, is in Crimson, we created it just to be the size of the development, the property, The other thing we have before us is the Brownfield Development Plan and the resolutions. But for now, if it's okay, I would like to do the public hearing. So the public hearing, and Lindsay, if you don't mind just taking a seat, and we'll use the podium for the public hearing. This will be the time for the public hearing. This is the same rules as public comment. You'll just introduce yourself, name and address for the record, and you have up to 3 minutes to give us your perspective. This is a public hearing on the establishment of the residential housing district. So this is, I want to be clear about that. This is on the establishment of the residential housing district, as opposed to, I don't know, I'm going to be facetious and say the color of the siding or something like that. This is on that district. So with that, we'll open up the public hearing, and if anyone would like to come up and make a public comment, more than welcome to, happy to hear from you. How are you tonight?
Good, how are you?
Good. And if anyone want to speak after her, please just come up and you can stand a few feet behind her and be ready to address us as well.
My name is Kristen Harriman, and I live at 2042 Landview Drive in Waterview Ridge. I'm really kind of confused because 2 years ago, I came to 2 meetings, and in October, when this development was originally approved, they were freestanding, 2-story, stick-built homes. And now we're hearing modular, which they don't last in the way that a stick-built home does. And I'm not hearing BOCA, I'm not hearing they're coming wall at a time, I'm hearing modular. And property value is important. I just am really surprised by that. I also want to throw out, just so you know, I did some calling around and some investigation. There are many, many places that are available for rent right now in and around this area, many places. Are they affordable? I'm not sure, but when I hear numbers like $3,000 for a family, that's not that affordable, that's more than my mortgage. So I really encourage you to think about, I know there is a need for some things, and that is a small area. I love our condo association, but I think we're too close. We're kind of crammed in. I've never lived in a condo before, and I love our condo, but it's tight. And now they're going to put 30 modulars in a 6-acre parcel. And there's already a lot of traffic. And it's a little bit scary to me to think of, I spent 30 years in education, and if kids are going to be walking and crossing 4 Mile to get down to school like Grand Traverse Academy or wherever, that's concerning. It is, but I'm literally shocked by the modular thing, and I don't know if there's anything that can be looked at going back. I checked with my husband, and that's how he remembered it being approved, is they were 30 freestanding, stick-built, 2-story homes. So just throwing it out there. And the fact that there are a lot of rentals available right now. And I have a lot of my life been workforce housing eligible, And I can tell you, with some of that population, neighborhoods change. And I'm not saying, I mean, I was a single mom for a long time. It's just, when you're having 3 to 12-month leases, you get a different kind of people living there than people who are owning their home or working toward it or want to live there for 5 years, even if they're just renting. So that's just my 2 cents.
Thank you. Additional public comment? Okay, if there's no additional public comment during this public hearing, did you note what time we opened it?
8:13.
8:13, okay. Then we will close, going once, going twice? We will close the public hearing at 8:17. And then bring it back to the board for any additional questions, comments, or potential actions. First, we'll take it with any additional questions. Okay, then I will go over where it says possible motion, as it does on all of our agenda forms, and this is based upon discussion. The board may choose to establish the residential housing district and/or recommend the Brownfield plan to the Grand Traverse County Brownfield Redevelopment Authority and the Board of Commissioners. It does not need to do both. It could do one, it could do the either, it could do neither, it could do both. If they were both done, then the next steps would be to potentially receive an application from the from the development that proposed the district. That would hold a public hearing as well on the certificate, as we've done with Crimson. And then we would review the certificate and application for potential action at a subsequent meeting.
I would make a motion to establish the residential housing district to include just the 2 parcels. Do you want them read?
Yeah, we have those parcel numbers. I recall they were in here because I
Yep.
remember.
221-031-11 and 221-031-05. And to recommend the Brownfield plan to Grand Traverse County Brownfield Redevelopment Authority and Board of Commissioners.
Do you want those in both the same motion, or do you want to take them one at a time? We can-
I just thought we'd do it at the same.
Okay, all right. Is there a second? Okay, I will support the motion. Further discussion? I did have a question for Claire. With respect to the zoning ordinance, if you wouldn't mind, is there a difference from the zoning perspective with respect to modular versus stick-built?
That was something that I did want to double check, because when no, there's not. The Planning Commission approved a site plan. We would need to review it if it changes more than 10%. So I do want to revisit that, because, there is a difference if it goes from 2-story, all units to 1-story. But in terms of the building materials, construction materials, that's not something that zoning impacts.
Okay, let me see if I'm understanding what you're saying. It was a 2-story that was approved through the
So-
site plan.
I need to go back and look at
And now
those.
it's a 1-story. So presumably, if they're fitting the same amount, presumably, the square footage is less. So that would actually be a decrease, not an increase by 10%.
Right.
Okay. But from the standpoint of, you can mandate, require, have a preference for any of those things, whether something is stick-built versus modular.
We don't have anything in our zoning ordinance that dictates that.
Okay, so from a zoning perspective, a residential housing unit is a residential housing unit, no matter how it's constructed. Okay.
Can I clarify something?
Sure. As the applicant, yes.
Got to come up.
There's modular homes, and then there's manufactured homes. They're two different things, and they're used interchangeably. So
We
modular.
used them interchangeably and didn't even notice.
I forget, like, I get them confused, so I just want to clarify what that is. Manufactured home is a stick-built home. It is drywall, stick-built, everything, it is a full house. It is built in a factory and built and shipped on state, or onto property, put onto a foundation, and then hooked into all of your electric and gas and water. That's modular home. See this, I'm getting confused. That's modular home. A manufactured home would be like your mobile home, like a trailer park in a sense. So that is not what we are building. These are stick-built homes. They will be permanent structures on a foundation. So very similar to what was previously approved, but no, we are not going to do, we would prefer to do one story. We think that Liv has enough two stories that we'd like to add some variety. So, but we are working with Claire on getting that site plan approval, the amendment. So I just wanted to clarify that it is not a mobile home. These are stick-built homes.
Manufactured would be like the Alta Vista.
Did I word?
I have to like literally look at it all the time. It's the modular. Manufactured would be your trailer park.
And clearly, I think there would be a difference in zoning with that, because.
We have a different
Yeah.
zoning district for
Yeah.
manufactured housing.
Correct. Yeah.
Beth,
Anyway,
can
I just
just-
wanted to make sure that was
Sure,
clarified.
sure, Sue, go ahead.
So, I remember when Waterview Ridge was in concept, and the big pole barn that was built so that they could prefab those homes enclosed before they were taken out of, in pieces and then built. So I'm wondering if the concept is similar or not. That's what that pole barn was built for, was so that those walls could be built there and then put on site. It was eventually requested to have it be part of the church's property. But at the time, it was built for that.
Yeah, it was a little before my time, but, yeah.
I remember us talking about the view shed a lot.
That's why it went down so many feet, so that it did not impede on the view shed.
Yeah, and I was glad to hear that this was one story as well.
That's what I thought was an improvement as well, because it wasn't towering over the view. Okay, I guess I just wanted to make sure that although it is still considered stick-built at Waterview Ridge, those were not stick-built at the site they are right now. They were built on the same property, but in an enclosed building.
Before his time, and he didn't even know it. Because that's a thing now.
They've been doing that stuff for years around here, building them inside a building, but they're not a trailer or metal frame underneath
Right.
them.
No.
In fact, technically, because they have to haul them, they're probably built a little stronger
Like an
than
arrow.
what you would have when you build it on site.
So they're just a little smarter, because I know the two houses that we built in the middle of winter.
Anyhow,
Okay. Further questions or comments? Okay, there's a motion and support. All those in favor indicate, that was a motion on the creation of the residential housing district and recommendation of the Brownfield plan to the County Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. So with that, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oh, you know what? I'm going to take that back. Sorry, this is bad form, and I don't mean to do that on you, but I do believe that we have a resolution with both of those. So we'll want to do it by resolution, Tracy?
Maybe 18 and 19.
Yes, and those start on page
Sorry.
107. So
Okay.
if you were to could we withdraw the motion and support? I would do that if you would. Okay?
And 17 and 18?
18 and 19.
18 and
Oh,
19,
18 and 19.
17
because
was
we use
Metro.
17 with Metro.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the The establishment of the residential housing district is Resolution 2026-18.
Correct.
So now do you need them separate?
I
Because
did- I
there's
would,
resolutions.
because
Okay.
there'll be a roll call
18.
vote.
Make a motion to approve Resolution 2026-18.
Okay, support. Now we'll do further discussion. And we'll do a roll call vote. Ann?
Certainly. Let me just erase this part here because we're only on 18. Okay. Bartlett,
Yes.
Friend,
Yes.
Cook,
No.
M. Corte,
No.
S. Corte,
Yes.
okay, and Lyle.
Okay, that is tied, so that motion dies. And we will talk with the applicant, and if they choose to, we do have a missing member here. So they would have the opportunity to bring that back when we have a full board. Is there a motion on Resolution 2026 for the concurrence of the Brownfield plan?
You can't send a brownfield plan if you don't have a residential.
Yes, you
No.
can.
Can
You
you?
don't need no. This is residential
that's
housing
for the
districts-
tax.
Yeah,
Okay.
237. Yep.
So I would support a motion to approve Resolution 2026-19.
This will be 18 then, because the other one did not get,
Because 18
Oh my
failed.
gosh.
right.
Let's get any more confusing. To recommend approval or concurrence of approval to the county Brownfield and County Commission for Evergreen on Hammond Brownfield Plan.
Is there support?
That was kind of a mess, but.
Is there support? I'll support Resolution 2026-18, the resolution of concurrence for the Evergreen on Hammond Brownfield Plan. Further discussion? Okay, Ann will do a roll call vote.
Bartlett,
Yes.
Cook,
No.
S. Corte,
Yes.
Lyle,
No.
M. Corte,
No.
and Friend.
Yes.
So
Okay.
it's 3-3.
So with that, we will see if the development wants to take a look at that again, and we may see this again before us, but we'll notice the public hearings. Again, I think there was a comment about information, and you just use the QR code at the, on any agenda item or any agenda, and it will take you to the packet. Again, you get the information the same time boards do. All right, with that, we will move on to our next agenda item, which is the ZBA appointment. With that, we had a ZBA, oh, Claire, all of these things actually fall under Planning and Zoning Department. So Claire, why don't you hop up here and we'll go through them one by one.
Okay. Good evening. So this is the ZBA appointment first?
It is Mr. Drea here?
Yes.
Hi, how are you today? Good, how are you? Good. Come on up and introduce yourself. I'm so glad you're here. Oftentimes, they don't get to meet the person right off the bat, so this is very nice.
Hi, my name is Michael Driga. I live at 3305 Emily Lane. I am a registered architect that works in Traverse City. I'm seeking an appointment as an alternate for the ZBA.
A registered architect, he probably had to sit on his hands while we were talking about the difference between modular and manufactured.
Just a little bit.
Okay, thank you very much. Really appreciate your interest. Claire, tell us, we received the letter of interest and you met with Mr.
Yeah,
Dringa?
yep. We had the opportunity to meet. I enjoyed just hearing more about his professional background. He works for, is it Grand Traverse Architect or?
Traverse Architecture Group.
Traverse Architecture Group. They actually do a lot of the site plans and architectural renderings that Planning Commission reviews. So I think, I also thought he'd be a great candidate for Planning Commission, but I think there'd be a conflict of interest.
Have to
So we
recuse
felt,
himself.
yes, often. So we felt that zoning board of appeals would be a good fit and could bring a lot to that discussion. And so, yeah, we're really excited to recommend him as an alternate member.
Great. The motion would be to move to appoint Michael Dringa as an alternate member of the Zoning Board of Appeals for a term commencing on August 11th, 2026, and expiring July 31st, 2028. Is there someone who would like to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Is there support? Okay, the motion's made by M. Cortade and supported by Cook. Further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by no? Okay, that motion passes unanimously. Thank you so much for your interest. We appreciate it. All right. Hopefully, we won't have any super challenging variance cases for you, but I'm not gonna bet on that, so.
Yeah.
All right, Claire, our next is the Safe Routes to School Flow of Funds Agreement.
Okay. So I'm going to go over this. There's two agenda items here. It's one cover page that is covering them because they're both pretty closely related. So first I kind of want to just go over the kind of some highlights of the overall budget for the whole project, which includes the Safe Routes to School as well as Civic Plaza, landscaping, lighting. I will say Connie is here. She's here to answer any specific questions. Prina Newhoff has really been fantastic through this process, and so we are very excited to be to this point. We broke ground last week. Elmer's is in and are moving quickly. So as you'll see, so for the full Safe Routes to School and Civic Plaza project, the township secured $2,396,941 in funding, grant funding. So that was between the MDOT Safe Routes to School, the RAP, the Revitalization and Placemaking Grant, the Rotary Charities Grant, and Olson Foundation. So that's kind of the chunk of money that we're starting with. Elmer's was awarded the bid for the Safe Routes to School project, and the reason that didn't come in front of the board is that money flows directly from MDOT to the contractor. It doesn't even pass through the Grand Traverse County Road Commission, even though they are the Act 51 agency. Basically, that contractor just gets paid. MDOT selected the contractor, they pay them directly. So for the first $1.5 million, MDOT will fully cover the project. We're looking at the MDOT Safe Routes to School, the trail segment of that project. We're looking at about just over $2 million is what that's going to cost. So the remaining $500,000 is going to be covered by the other grant funding. So our revitalization and placemaking grant is what's going to cover that gap that we have. So we have in front of you a flow of funds agreement that would be executed between East Bay Township and the Grand Traverse County Road Commission. That would commit us to paying the gap, that, about $500,000 between the MDOT grant and the cost of the project. So in front of you, we are looking for approval on that flow of funds agreement. We have had legal counsel review it. We've had our insurance provider review and approve it. We still have it, it's still under review by the Road Commission. And so we feel that as long as they are comfortable and don't make any changes in terms of, that they don't make any changes that result in an increase in cost to the township, and make sure that legal counsel would review and approve any tweaks that they make to it. But it's pretty straightforward. It's based on a similar model of flow of funds agreement for a transportation alternatives grant with another community. So it's been used elsewhere in the state.
I just note that the original draft for the flow of funds came from the Road Commission and their legal counsel, and then was reviewed by ours. So the likelihood of anything monumental being changed is relatively limited. So what we did was, because we haven't gotten their final blessing on it, what we're looking for is as similar to before, but to approve it with subject to form substance, and the condition that the Road Commission could make some final changes that do not result in an increase in cost to the township, and that legal counsel would review and approve any of those potential tweaks that they make.
So can I ask for just a real quick clarification? The township is being asked to pay how much?
We are.
Township funds, not flowing funds.
We are not seeking any township funds right now beyond what we've secured in grant funding. So the grant funding would cover everything that we're discussing tonight.
For some reason, I thought you said 500,000. and
There's
I
a
just
500,
wanted-
yeah, there is a gap. So we received 1.5 million from MDOT, but we also secured $800,000 from MEDC, 50,000 from Rotary, and 50,000 from Olson Foundation. So that gap, the 500,000 that the MDOT grant is not covering, will come from the other grants
Thank
we've
you for the
received.
clarification.
Yeah. And I will say that the MDOT project originally, the original contract was approved for $2,099,000. It's already been, very good news, because I think it doesn't normally go this direction, but it's already been reduced by about $47,000. They found that they didn't need a retaining wall, and so that, the scope of that project there's been a few minor tweaks, but it's reduced from what was originally in place.
Question, nothing to do with the funds per se, but the pavilion, is that planned to go over behind the gas station?
The Civic Plaza? Yes, yep, and that was the second piece that I was gonna.
Oh,
Yeah, no, good question, though. That's the other piece that we wanted to have. That's a contract that would be held with the township, so that's a contract that we're looking for approval tonight for. And I can go over that, or we can start with just the flow of funds
Why don't we
agreement.
just take it with the flow of funds? You have here a possible motion to approve a flow of funds agreement with the County Road Commission, subject to the existing form, substance, and a condition that the Road Commission make final changes to the document that don't result in an increase in costs to the township, and that township legal council review and approve. So I'm not sure the wording of that, but I think what the intent is we believe that we have a formalized agreement between us and the Road Commission. They generated it, their legal counsel did, ours looked at it, approved it, we had it with our insurance as well. So we think that we have an agreement that will be counter-agreed to, but in the event that they make some small tweaks, we would, that don't result in increased cost, we would have the township legal review it and approve it as well. And then it would stand approved. That's a motion in there somehow. And
Who moved?
I did.
Seconded?
Well, I guess I will. I don't know who, if it's supported, okay, motion by Friend, supported by Cook.
Okay.
Further discussion? Okay. All those in favor of the motion, does it need to be repeated? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed by no? No. Okay, we'll do a roll call. Ann?
Friend?
Yes.
Cook?
Yes.
Bartlett?
Yes.
M. Cortade? Lyle?
Yes.
And S. Cortade.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Right now, we'll do the second piece.
Okay, so the second piece was for the Civic Plaza. It was a bid for, it includes the Civic Plaza that we received an easement over by the True North gas station. It's right next to the car wash. It also includes all of our landscaping for the Civic Plaza and trees all along the entire trail. And then the third item is the school zone signage. So we received approval from Road Commission, Sheriff, all the schools, as well as the township, to install the reduced speed zone signage where the speed limit is dropping from 55 miles an hour down to 35 miles an hour, extending 1,000 feet from each school boundary. So it's actually quite a bit, both east-west on Hammond and north-south on 3 Mile Road. So that bid, Elmer's also was the only single bid on that project, so it'll be nice to coordinate with Elmer's kind of doing all of the projects. But the bid came back significantly higher than what we had originally anticipated. It was at $564,000. And so we revisited that bid with Elmer's and with Prine and Newhoff. who did all of the trail design engineering, and then also with Beckett and Rader, who designed the Civic Plaza. And we were able to recommend some modifications so that we can keep everything within our grant funding. So the modifications are listed in the staff report. It's deducting $6,400 for the aggregate base under the Civic Plaza, which is not needed. And then Elmer's has agreed to all of this, and they summarized it in a memo that's in your packet. Also deducting $18,600 for traffic control that will be coordinated with the Hammond project, so that's not needed. It was a little bit repetitive. We are recommending deducting $160,000, and that's all of the tree plantings along the Safe Routes to School project. So this was bid requiring MDOT specs, and with MDOT specs, we only got one company that was interested in doing the landscaping, and they're out of Grand Rapids, and we believe, just in talking with Connie and with others, that it will be, and with Elmer's, that it will be significantly lower if we rebid it this spring, not requiring the MDOT specs. So we would like to pull it out of this contract and rebid it separately.
And as well, this is the tree planting. It is not the vegetation around the
Not the, yeah, we're going to keep all the landscaping for the Civic Plaza in place and do that now so that we can get that, so that all gets done at one time. This is, we've got 50 to 60 trees that are all along the trail, that 1.6 miles, to help with placemaking and traffic calming. We're also looking to deduct the about 166,000 is the signage for the school safety zone. And we're surprised that it was that much, but this signage it can be controlled remotely, so the schools will be able to program the signage. So based on school schedule, if there's early release, it can be flashing based on what the school schedule is. It's also solar, and so it's flashing anytime that the speed limit is in effect, the reduced speed limit. It's not flashing when it's not. So in talking with Jessica Carpenter, is the engineer with MDOT, she said that they've seen just much higher compliance and benefit with these signs. So she highly recommended it. And we believe that if we delay on the school safety signage and we can work, we've had preliminary conversations with all 3 school districts, that we can get some cost sharing with the schools. We also plan to apply for a Grand Traverse Band 2% grant in the November funding cycle. So our hope is to delay, but not still install the signage, but delay until the spring so that we can get some cost sharing.
We didn't have enough time to get that collaboration together on the cost. So that's always kind of, tricky. One doesn't want to agree until the other agrees and so forth. But the other thing is too, it's been a little bit more expensive as well, because if you think about just a school doing the signage, this is 4 schools in an area. So it's not inexpensive. Go ahead.
Just
Sue.
clarification, the Safe Routes to School trail will be done when?
They anticipate that I think the 3-mile segment will be done before school starts, and all of the trail will be done by October 1st.
So the type of signage that will be in place until we can do the grant request will be just typical 35-mile-an-hour signs that the road commission puts up, or will there be no signs?
There will be no speed limit signs. There will be the rapid flashing beacon signage, but we won't have the reduced speed zone signs.
You won't have the speed zone in
Yeah,
place?
these are all policy decisions, so, the township could certainly decide to put that in now, and we can still pursue cost sharing with the school districts for reimbursement, but that'd be a
Will they put the
policy
existing
decision.
signage back up?
That's a
'Cause
good
there were
question for Connie.
signage- There was signage already.
We
at
haven't
least
taken
over
anything
here.
down yet, or maybe they probably have, actually.
I
think that
think
sign's
the
down.
one over by east
Yeah, so
is
we could
down.
put those back up.
Yeah, this.
Come on up, Connie.
Yeah, come on.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, the stationary signs will be
put back up. They've salvaged those. The ones that are this exorbitant cost, if you want to, I mean, people think that's a lot of money for signing. They're lit signs, right? And they're all radio controlled and everything. But yeah, very different type of signing.
Oh, yeah.
So, but the stationary signs, yes, it'll still say that any school signs that you had up before will go back up.
Because people are at least aware of them. I
Yes,
complain that the trees grow in front of them and they don't trim them,
yeah,
but yeah.
yes.
At
So the
least there's
stationary
something.
signs, yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Could I, kind of along Sue's questioning, could I propose that in the interest of this being a Safe Routes to School project, that gets prioritized? If there's a budgeting constraint here, that would get prioritized over the plaza itself?
I don't think you can do that at this point.
I think we would have a hard time, so the school safety zone signage was not part of our RAP grant application. So this was kind of an add-on after the fact. The plaza was part of the RAP grant, and so when MEDC was evaluating our placemaking, economic development, I think the plaza was an important component of the application to strengthen that.
I mean, what we could do is, I mean, the township could choose to, if they wanted, I'm not saying you need to, but we could choose to fund a portion of that. That might incentivize the schools to more readily match what we're doing.
Who would normally, because this is going to be in county right-of-way, or I guess MDOT right-of-way, in some cases.
County, yeah.
County. Wouldn't that normally be a road commission responsibility to provide that type of signage? Maybe not required, but wouldn't it be their responsibility?
Sounds like there may have been a discussion about this already with these two Cheshire cats.
Yeah, the basic stationary signs.
Up to the mic, sorry.
No problem. Yeah, the basic stationary signs.
bare minimum.
Yeah, bare minimum. So a new law went in place. That's what Claire was talking about with this 1,000 feet from the school zones. And so you guys are real early on. Claire was right on it. But you're one of the early people who are going in and getting their school zones expanded and getting that drop in 20-mile-an-hour speed limit. So very early, and as we all know up here, it's like you need it because people are cruising into town pretty fast. But yeah, so the road commission would put up stationary signs. But as far as these go, these specialized signs that are remote controlled and solar and lit, and the precautionary early signs for it, warning that it's coming, those are all extra and above and beyond what the road commission would take care of. So.
Well, I mean, I think, it's a sort of a scenario we need to put our money where our mouth is at a township. There's been, and I know you've done a ton of work on the Safe Routes to School and pulled together all of these resources, all this grant funding. I mean, I think that the township should, in the interest of kind of wrapping this project up, I mean, if it's going to be done here in the next couple of months, it'd be a shame.
We should partially fund it.
Well,
and ask the schools to collaborate.
Sure, yes, yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, we need to have some additional contribution here, but it's kind of needed to wrap the entire project up. It'd be a shame to have all that done and not have this signage, right out of the gate.
Yeah, and I think the road commission stance is they were happy with the reduction in the speed. I mean, I've had the manager call me and say, we've got to get speeds down there, which, yeah, anyway, the point is this is one of the tools. I think you've probably heard me say before, Claire and I met with OHM at the road commission's approval and talked with them on how do we get the speeds down. And it is not one thing that's going to do it. It is incrementally everything. It is curbs, it is trees, it is the school zones. It's a layered effect of all of these things. So that's one important one. But they also don't want to take ownership of the signage and placing that signage. And we do have some preliminary, perhaps sometimes tepid, sometimes hopeful buy-in or positive comments from the 3 different school districts. So I really do think we should give ourselves a little bit more time, even a month. And I don't know how much that would change our schedule or cause us to go back in anything. I mean, I wouldn't think a month if we had a couple weeks to continue to work with the school districts. I think that would be all right. But I will tell you, Matt, I think that you are so right along the lines of, in getting the schools to do that, we'll have a much stronger ask from the schools if we say, look, it's this much, and we're putting X amount percentage towards it, whether it's 25 or 50%, somewhere along those lines.
Split it even with the 4 entities.
Well, my concern, Matt, you understand my concern. We're improving the roads right now. We're improving the intersection right now. We're creating the open spaces. Vehicles are not going to go slower. We need to have more incentive. We have to put some more teeth in why they need to slow down. And right at the school is not close enough. It needs to be that 1,000 feet out. I've had a hard time wrapping my head around approving the safe routes to schools. When I do approve it, when I vote yes for it, it's because all of the extra enhancements and care taken to protect our most precious commodity. To go all this length, go all of this far, and not put those things in place. I don't want to be here when the first accident happens because we didn't do the extra signage and protection.
One thing, appreciate the sentiment. I will note when the road commission is doing the road though, and I'm very thankful to the road commission for this.
Sure.
They are not fixing the road in a way that just opens it up. And when you tend to do that, right? Like, if you don't do it with, they're putting curbs in, is I guess what I'm saying. And I'm glad they are, because that's going to help with the road, rather than them just coming through and opening it up, widening it out, making it, seem wider. And then I think we will have the roads, there's less to slow you down. So, I mean, I would be supportive if we, let's see, it's 166,000 roughly in signage. Was that a pretty good estimate as far as what we had needed for there? There wasn't any change in that. We didn't expect that to go down or up or anything, right, stay right around there. So personally, I would be supportive if we funded half of it, and then we look to our school partners to fund the other half of it collectively.
But I think, the one thing that I'm not sure how to kind of translate this into, we have to get the grant agreement in place for the RAP grant. And so I think we have to approve a contract with Elmer's in order to get our RAP grant agreement.
Yeah.
And to get our grant agreement in place, I don't know if we can fund, to get the contract in place, I don't know if we can fund half of the project. Because how does that transcribe
So I
to,
think we would,
translate to Elmer's in terms of what they install?
well, we were going to leave it out,
Okay.
correct? So we'll just approve it as
We'll approve the Elmer's contract as suggested,
Exactly.
but then make a separate motion or action that you're going to contribute half of the fund, 80 some
And then
thousand.
what we'll do is we'll work with the schools, and then we'll have Elmer's present that as a separate thing.
It sounded like that whole thing is a subcontractor. It's the same subcontractor that's doing the intersection, so. So we could maybe have it done at the same time as the intersection lighting.
Who would, knowing that these sophisticated signs are lit and they've got sensors and some kind of radio communication, who owns and maintains that?
That's a good question. That was a discussion too with the road commission. Well, I can tell you who's going to be operating them from the time standpoint is when we've talked with engineers and safe routes and so forth. And it would be like the school district would do that. They readily know their schedule and their times and so forth. But this would be part of our project, whether we fund it in full or not. So if one of those were hit, that would be like our insurance claim or something like that, or our responsibility to put that back up. And if that were funded in part with the schools, we would look to replace that in the similar manner.
Question. Are we gonna have crossing guards like humans that,
That is, you may have noticed in my budget implications, I did put a note that we are anticipating additional costs associated with the maintenance of the trail, so snow removal and year-round maintenance, as well as crossing guards. So we're not required to have crossing guards. We feel that would be a prudent investment for the township. And Beth and I have had some discussions about funding. We've talked with Norte, talked with the community police officers, talked with the schools, looking for different options for hiring a part-time hourly crossing guard.
would these be employees of East Bay Township or the schools?
That's a good question. Probably a contractor, but to be determined.
Yeah, one of the hardest part is really how do you find the person who's available for roughly 2 hours in the morning, roughly 2 hours or just less in the afternoon. So we've talked, when the schools were here for a communication meeting on the projects in general, the road commission and the safe routes all together, and getting word to their parents about what delays they might have and the timing of those. One of the things we asked them was, listen, you guys have staff that do a multitude of things, lunch duty, those types of things. Please keep in mind and get the word out of someone who may be interested in doing something like before lunch duty or after lunch duty, because it's going to be difficult or challenging to find crossing guards, but communities do it. And so we think that we can do that as well. We've also started a discussion with the CPOs about potentially filling in some for us in the beginning as well. So we have to finish up on those discussions.
Okay.
Okay,
And we also want, the Compass medallion was an option, and we would recommend including that in the plaza as well.
We have approved the flow of funds agreement. Then this is the second portion of the possible motions that Claire has. And this would be on the Elmer's contract for the Civic Plaza tree planting and school zone signing. And the recommendation would be to approve a mitigated contract for $206,500, where the school signage is pulled out separately and the trees are pulled out separately and the medallion is included, correct? Okay.
A few others, but I'll note it in the memo.
Why don't you go ahead and state the motion?
So the motion was approve the Elmer's contract for the Civic Plaza contract, and then with or without changes as discussed. So the changes we discussed were deducting $6,400 for aggregate base under the Civic Plaza, deducting $18,600 for the traffic control that will be coordinated with the Hammond Road project, deducting $160,150 for the tree planting, deducting $165,950 in the safety zone signage, and then adding the Compass medallion for a total of $206,500.
And I do want to mention, very collaboratively, MEDC is not hopeful, but they are going back to look to see if there are any additional RAP funding out there to help with the trees and so forth. And we also have relief through the grant program as well that we're.
Yeah, DTE is funding 20 trees for us. But it'll be a community planting project, so we'll be seeking all of your assistance.
We'll all be out there with shovels and
So is there, would someone make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Is there support for that motion? I'll support that motion. There's a motion made by Cook and supported by Friend. Further discussion? We all clear what the motion is? Any questions? Okay, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed by no?
No.
Okay, can we do a roll call, Ann?
Sure. Cook,
Yes.
Friend,
Yes.
Bartlett,
Yes.
Lyle,
Yes.
M. Cortade, S. Cortade.
No.
Okay, motion passes. And with that, is there a motion that is preferred from the Township Board regarding the school safety zone signage? Or if, in lack of a motion, is there a general willingness for Claire or I to reach out to the schools and indicate that there may be a willingness to potentially support up to 50% of that with their partnership?
Yeah, I would recommend that you go ahead and do some kind of negotiation with them to get the signage done.
Okay. Other thoughts on that consensus, or?
Yeah, I would agree, and maybe we could regroup in September
Okay,
with a motion.
that sounds good. We'll move forward and see what we can do with that. All right. Thank you very much. We'll move on to our next agenda item, which, Claire, is still you, and is Nathan, and Elizabeth is here as well.
Are we on trust fund or?
Yeah, we are. What page are we on here, guys? Trail and sidewalk request for proposals.
I'll take that.
You guys are kind of, this is really crosses between both your departments.
Yeah. So this is a RFP that we would like to get issued sooner rather than later, just so we can line up a contractor for snow removal as well as year-round maintenance. So part of the Safe Routes to School commitment was that we would maintain the infrastructure, the Safe Routes to School infrastructure year-round. It would be accessible year-round. So there's two parts to this RFP. One is to maintain the Safe Routes to School infrastructure at 1.6 miles of a 10-foot trail. The other piece of the RFP is for snow removal and maintenance for the sidewalk segment along the US 31 corridor, the Beach District. So that's almost 4 miles of sidewalk. That is kind of the number one priority that came out of our work with the Corridor Improvement Authority, the public visioning. So that piece would be funded through the TIF, the tax increment financing, and that was decided by the Corridor Improvement Authority Board. They plan to recommend to the Township Board that would be kind of the first project that they would tackle through the TIF effort. So again, the awarding the contract would come back to the Township Board, but right now, this is the plan that we would like to do is to issue this RFP. We anticipate that potentially contractors would bid on one project or the other, or both of them. So it sounds like you need a little different machine, whether it's sidewalk or trail, and so there's some different options.
I just had one quick question.
Um,
Oh, go ahead, Glenn.
No, she answered the question
Oh, okay.
before I ever asked it.
Oh, okay, there you go.
It's getting scary.
Quick question I had is, is this templated off of another RFP that we've found?
We, TART had issued RFP for Boardman Lake Trail and also for the TART Trail along Parsons and out to Holiday Road. So we looked at theirs as well as,
Okay. The question I was wondering was, it mentions year-round maintenance, and looking at the snow removal, we do have some staff, and so I wondered, if we needed the year-round. Of course, I do see the summer, and spring, summer, fall maintenance, is the edging along the pavement, removal of grass encroachment, sweeping of the debris, leaf. And those are, as you follow that along on the second page of the RFP, those are important parts of the contract as
Yeah.
well, because we know that.
Especially on the Beach District sidewalk, that grass is real, like, there's some segments where, like, the sidewalk is about this wide, just because there's so much grass and,
Probably find a lot of the sand from the road on there,
yeah,
or the beach.
yeah.
Okay, questions, comments for Claire?
So are we I guess my main question is, are we anticipating capturing enough to cover the expense?
We anticipate that we have enough in the fund right now to cover 1 year of expenses. Part of that is the seed money that the township board put into the fund, so,
But we really don't know what it's going to cost us anyway.
we don't know how much it's going to cost us, and we're not sure. We are working with the county and with Beta for those tax sharing agreements that would be retroactive, that would go into effect May of 2026. So we could, depending on how that shakes out, we could have sufficient funds.
I mean, I'll tell you, years ago, gosh, it's been probably at least 6 years ago, more. I tried to do kind of a request for proposals. Well, I didn't do a formal request for proposals, but reached out to TART, reached out to the city about,
Yeah.
doing some snow removal up there. And it was tough at that time, but I think some things have changed too. So I think that this will be really interesting and hopefully bear some fruit, because it's something that's needed up in that area. Those of you who travel that 31 corridor any amount of time in the winter will see people walking on the roadway, even though their TART trail is, less than a block back
away.
behind the other properties. So,
Yeah.
And TART stays separate, the maintenance that TART does continues to be done. It won't be part of this.
Yeah.
yeah. So with that, let's see, you're looking, lots of times we just put out an RFP and then we'll approve or deny based on the contract or
okay.
things. So, but I think with this, because this is new to us, I think it's good that it comes before this board.
Okay.
So that, there's any questions we have, comments that we find those out now. If anybody sees anything in this RFP that they would like changed or addressed, that we have that now. So I don't know if there's we can certainly pass a formal motion to approve the RFP, and that's absolutely fine.
I'll make a motion to approve the trail and sidewalk maintenance RFP to be issued by township staff immediately following approval by the board.
Okay, is there support?
Support.
Okay, there's a motion by Cook and support by Bartlett. Excuse me, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by no? No. Okay, we'll do a roll call vote, Ann.
Let's see, we have Cook
Yes.
and Bartlett,
Yes.
M. Cortade, Lyle,
Yes.
S. Cortade,
Yes.
and Friend.
Yes. Okay, the motion passes.
Okay, thank
All right,
you.
We look forward to seeing what the results are, Claire. And I know Nathan looks forward to seeing the results too. Like I said, this really crosses both departments, really. This came out of planning and zoning with our Safe Routes to School work and the Corridor Improvement Authority. But really, as we move into maintenance, it will start to fall under facilities. And I think the departments have worked really well together. So with that, we'll move on to the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund grant agreements. And I apologize because I did put the grant agreements in there, but I did not put a resolution which approves them all. We did put that on your desk today, though. And so that would be resolution 19.
I think we're still at 18 because, no,
No, we did 18.
17, 18, 17 was.
17 was Metro. And
Oh,
then the
wait.
2 projects,
Oh, yeah, 18 didn't fly, so this will be
Neither one of
18.
them went.
Yeah, this will be resolution 2026-18. Go ahead, Nathan.
lucky
Yeah.
number 18.
All right. Yes, I'm definitely excited to help with Safe Routes to School and exercise all of our capacities with the maintenance, as we have available. But yeah, I'll talk us briefly through this resolution that we're looking for support. We've also invited Charlie from the Grand Traverse Regional Land Conservancy here just to give a brief update on the Ridge property, as well as Elizabeth from Tart Trails is here. She could talk about the 3 Mile Trail extension. I'll just briefly go through the resolution. So as you may recall, we did receive 3 Michigan DNR Trust Fund grants that they awarded to us back in December. As is common with these, it takes a while to get the project agreements, so we're just receiving these now, and so they need a resolution from us essentially accepting these projects. So there's 3 of them. We have the Ridge property, which we're working with the Conservancy on. You're probably familiar with that 312-acre park. So the trust fund essentially is the grant amounts over $4.8 million, and then the match is coming from the Conservancy. That's in the land value. That's that $5.275 million. The 3 Mile Trail, the grant we were awarded was $400,000 from the trust fund. The Tart Trails is helping us with some of the matches. We have housing and urban development match of $272,700. Michigan Department of Transportation MDOT TAP grant of $3 million as a match. The township match for this one, I believe, is $294,600. And I believe Beth, you can probably speak to this, the previous resolution we have from the board of a $1 million commitment. I think that's where those funds are going to be coming from.
Elizabeth can go through that. The 294,600, that comes out of our million that the township pledged. Yeah.
So that is our match. And then TART is contributing $1 million. And stop me at any time with any questions. The last one, Holiday Woodlands Natural Area, Michigan DNR Trust Fund gave us a $300,000 grant, township funds, and we'll be asking for these in September, $100,000 for a total project cost of $400,000. Did you guys have any questions on any of those numbers or the matches? You want clarification?
So again, Charlie is here and Elizabeth, and thank you for sitting through this long meeting to do that. I'm really quickly through on Holiday Woodlands Natural Area before you give those updates. That's the one that truly impacts us from a financial standpoint the most, because it's $100,000 that, wait, let me double check that. That is $100,000 that we are doing on that.
Yes.
And,
That would be the biggest
right.
match.
So we're already working in advance of the grant agreements coming from the state and waiting for the governor to sign the bill. We've already started working with a trail designer, with the Conservancy to help us integrate the trails to a connection over to the ridge. We'll be looking at some things like parking lots and access for some of those things. So we'll start to work with Wade Trim as well on those items. So we'll be coming back to you. This is not resolution in any way an ask for the $100,000. It's, at this point, it is not. We'll be bringing those plans to you subsequently. This is, again, just agreeing to the grant agreements, and it is reiterating the project, what it's for, and the amount that we've already done through the applications, which we already had resolutions for. So with that, I would, if it's okay, we'll turn it
Yeah,
over for
so
update.
Charlie can come up first, give us a brief update. You guys probably remember this parcel was subject to development, and I think through our work, we've now created a park.
Yeah, Charlie McDonald, Grand Traverse Regional Land Conservancy. So thanks for the intro, Nathan and Beth. I'll just give a brief update on things that have happened since we were here passing the resolution last April, and then things that will be upcoming throughout the project, like agreement period. So since then, the biggest one is that we've reached our fundraising goal. That means that the amount of money we needed to raise to contribute the match that we've committed to in that resolution is in hand. The money for all of the infrastructure to build the trails and the parking lots and all the signage to open it to the public is all in hand, and all the money that we raise for the long-term endowment so that we have the money to maintain and manage the property essentially in perpetuity, that's all in hand. This summer, we've been working, Conservancy staff and a whole bunch of volunteers and some trail building crews from Seeds have been out there. They have about a mile of trail built so far. They started with the hardest stuff, so they got a mile done so far this year. By the time it opens, which is projected to be next year sometime, they'll have roughly 4 miles of trail built. And then next spring, we'll be starting on parking lots, and there'll be some infrastructure at the very sort of like highest point of the property. There'll be a platform built so people hiking kind of have a destination to get to for the view that goes out across both bays into Leelanau County up to Charlevoix County. That'll be built next spring as well. That's pretty much it, unless anybody has any questions. The projected opening date, the grant project period is for 2 years, but the ridge will be open to the public sometime next year. Late summer, early fall, just depends on how the season goes as far as getting everything built.
Great. Any questions for Charlie?
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for it. Everyone at East Bay Township has been fantastic, and it's not just the Conservancy pulling us off, it's a partnership, so.
Well, as well, we very much appreciate the collaboration. You not only help us on this type of a project, but on other ones as well, and we appreciate that.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Elizabeth? 3 Mile Trail.
I'm going to do a quick handout because things are, we've
Okay.
got so much going on in this corridor. This is the project map.
Do you have one that we can put into Mindy's box, since she's not here?
I will dig through to see if I have them where.
Or she can have.
She can have Ann's, she said after we're done.
Okay, that's
Thank
great.
you.
Good evening, great to see everyone. So again, that trust fund, 400,000 grant goes with phase 1, and so that is the red, and that is in combination with the prior 400,000 trust fund grant from the 2024 cycle. And as Nathan mentioned, we'll use the HUD, which is congressionally directed spending. There was a $900,000 grant. There's the $3 million TAP commitment. There's the townships, some funds from the million that you've committed, and then TART coming in with private. We still do have a funding gap that we're actively working on closing, pursuing private funds, and as well as continuing to look to the county to potentially help close that gap as well. But the goal is for 2027 construction for that red alignment there. And so the goal would be 2026 safe routes, 2027, and then we just heard word in the last week that through the Road Commission for TAP Phase 2 was awarded for $1,024,000. So that's the second TAP, so that's over $4 million committed in TAP for the 3 Mile Trail, which is quite incredible. And so that was 55% match. So there's still funds that will need to be raised for Phase 2. So we're looking at a 2028, 2029 timeline for that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so things are really taking shape, and it's great to just be here to hear with the Safe Routes process, because we'll be coming back with some of these fund flow agreements as well in the coming months. Any questions?
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And we had a great open house last week.
Oh, good.
And then we are launching on Thursday evening the public crowdfunding phase. So we're going to be at Grand Traverse Distillery. Everyone can find a way to get there.
Around all the construction.
Yeah, and we'll toast. Great.
Wait, when is that?
This Thursday.
Oh, okay, yeah, it'll
Yeah.
still be closed, yeah.
Yeah.
The intersection, rather, yeah.
Yeah, so some way get there.
We'll get there.
Thank you.
Well, once you get there, you can have a drink, because you might need it after the traffic.
Yes.
Okay, so with that, we are looking at Resolution 2026-18 to approve the grant agreements for the Ridge and the 3 Mile Trail and the Holiday Woodlands Trail Development. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, is there support?
Support.
Okay, there's a motion by Cook and support by Bartlett. Any further discussion?
Approving all three at once.
Yes, it's all in one.
They're all on one resolution.
We ran that past the grant coordinator, rather. Okay, and we'll do roll call vote?
Cook.
Yes.
Bartlett.
Yes.
Lyle.
Yes.
Escorted.
Yes.
M. Cortade. Friend.
Yes. Okay, very good. Thank you very much, everybody, for your work on these projects. Very much appreciated. Let's see, with that, we'll take a look at the 2% tribal funds that were awarded. You'll see on the cover sheet, which is on page 198, I think, or 193, rather. We had 3. 2 of them are pass-through grants, and 1 was for East Bay Ambulance. The East Bay Ambulance is $3,700, and that was for, oh my goodness, I'm forgetting right now. Yes, thank you, because it says right there under the number. Yeah, for oxygen lift assist device. So this is something that they keep in the bay, and then they transport it onto whatever rig they're using, and it will help with potential workers' comp issues. So we're pretty happy about that. We're also happy to support 2 other nonprofits that applied for grants, and they're to pass through. So we receive the check for that dollar amount, and we submit that amount to them. So with that, the motion that is asked for is to move to accept the 2% tribal grants awarded on July 16th, 2026, and facilitate the payments as outlined to, oh, I am so gonna not pronounce that right.
Yeah.
Manamandazan and the Elders Advisory Organization, as well as approve the purchase of the oxygen lift assist device for use by East Bay Ambulance.
I will make that motion.
Is there support?
Support.
Was that Glenn or Matt? Okay. There's a motion by S. Cortade and support by M. Cortade. Further discussion? Okay, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by no? Okay, that motion passes unanimously. All right, with that, we will move on to the other agenda items. We have, we would like concurrence from the board on hiring a new part-time employee, and you have that information in front of you. Is there a motion to concur with the offer of part-time employment for?
I thought we did that.
This
I
is
thought
for
you put
person.
them under the consent.
Garnet Mullet, no. She has a consent agenda on here, but we did not, that's just the cover sheet
Oh.
she had available.
I thought you added it
You
under
said H and
H and I.
I.
H and I was after the G of 2% tribal awards.
Oh, I put it after the consent.
Oh, I put it under the consent.
So did I.
Yeah, okay, never mind.
Okay.
There are too many
Sorry.
H's and G's.
Okay, so move to approve and concur with the part-time offer of employment as presented to Garnet Mullet. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Is there support?
Support.
Okay, motion is made by M. Cortade, supported by Lyle. Further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by no? Okay, that motion passes unanimously. Let's see, we have a grant approval. Where am I at here? Here we go. So Michigan Center for Rural Health was looking to fund students for EMS classes. We did have an employee who was starting paramedic school this September, and through this grant allocation and the funds that they had available for the Center for Rural Health, we can have that education can be paid for on behalf of this EMT who's seeking to become a paramedic. The amount is in the amount of $16,876.15. So what we would do is just approve the grant award from MCRH, and then we'll later facilitate the budget amendments for that. It's basically a pass-through, and it will go to the West Shore Community College to pay the tuition.
So it's a pass-through grant.
Pretty much. Pretty much. So is there the motion that was stated? Is there support for, or not support?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll support it.
All right, so there's a motion by Cook and support by M. Cortade. Any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by no? That motion passes unanimously. We also have here, we have a grant that was from the Michigan Association of Municipal Clerks for the ADA improvement. The clerk, because of the timeliness that this needed to be purchased, asked for the treasurer and the supervisor's concurrence for an emergency purchase, and we supplied that. The items were purchased, and they will be reimbursed for up to $10,000.
Now, we've already received the money for it.
Okay, so we need
It
to.
was spending that money.
Okay, so we want to approve the purchases and also approve the grant, approval of the grant, acceptance of the grant. So is there, who would make that motion?
I would make that motion.
Okay. Bartlett made the motion and Lyle supported it? Okay, very good. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by no? All right, very good, thank you. Let's see, with that, we move on to public comment. Do we have any public comment? He's looking behind him. Okay, seeing no public comment, then our next meeting is September 14th, and.
Last day of taxes.
Last day of taxes, is it?
Oh, must be another important day too, then.
No, but that's the next day.
All right, so with that, everybody drive carefully, and if there's no objection, we stand adjourned.